Welcome to the ADT Coaches Spotlight, brought to you by ADT, America's residential and commercial security leader. Call 1-800-ADT-ASAP.
Purdue and Michigan in Ann Arbor on Saturday, where the Boilers have lost 15 straight. As you might guess, Joe Tiller has a bit of respect for the Wolverines.
Could prove to be wrong, but I think they're the most talented team in the Big Ten this year. And the more tape I watch on them, the more I'm convinced I become of that.
What were some of the things that you said to the kids, not kids, but the players Sunday? Was it don't believe everything you read and hear again?
No, I didn't say that, which is natural, I might add. Anyway, it was kind of funny because Taylor Stubblefield, now that he's been here 4 years, he's a little more comfortable, kind of jabbing me a little bit, You used to wouldn't say anything. Now all of a sudden, it's, hey, Coach, I bet we're going to get that speech today, aren't we? You know that one about reading your press clippings. I bet we're going to get it, aren't we? That's what he's saying during stretch, Well, hell, I know I can't say that, So that blew my cover there. So, but no, the things I said to him is that, hey, fellas, congratulations, number one. It's great you're in this position. It's great recognition for you guys as a football team, for us as a football program and the like, but it doesn't get you to the pay window. You guys are smart enough to know that, I think. I think you know that you have to go out and perform. What you really have to be cautious about this week regarding this stuff is what your friends, how they beat you over the head with it, what your family, how they beat you over the head with it, the media, how they beat you over the head with it. I said, just don't fall into the trap. You guys are smart enough to figure that out. I shouldn't have to say any more than that.
Are we kind of a necessary evil now? I mean, is it kind of like the kind of be careful what you wish for because you might get it?
Who's we?
Well, talking about the media.
Well, you're always a necessary evil. I'm surprised you would bring that up, Steve. I don't know. I think, to me, part of a college education, sometimes I know maybe I'm a little different than some coaches. Maybe I'm a lot different than some coaches. That's why we've never, ever closed our locker room. I think part of your education is learning how to handle wins and how to handle defeats and how to express yourself in very difficult situations. Also, how to manage your emotions is an education. So, I think, if you're saying is the media a necessary evil, I don't view it that way. It's just another learning opportunity for our players.
You talked about this maturity level of this team. Is this a convergence, Joe, of the right team at the right schedule? Because with the
I'll never agree this is the right schedule ever. But I did make the comment in August when I was asked that question about the schedule, is that I'm not into the crystal ball, so I can't tell you exactly how things are going to go. But if we ever had a team that could compete in this type of a situation, this would be the team.
And also with no bye and the health.
Joe Tiller talking about his team and the most just striking difference between last year and this year. I mean, look at that. There is a 22 net difference in terms of turnovers, where they were last year and where they are this year. Plus 12 this year. That is fourth in the nation. They were minus 10 last year. They're making a lot of things happen on defense, and they are just not beating themselves. Just 7 turnovers all year. And Coach, a lot of that could have been attributed, as we check in with Coach Donnan, to the fact that last year and early in this year, they were running the football an awful lot. But, Coach, they've really changed things around this year, and you look at what happened in that Wisconsin game. They come out and throw 55 passes. Does that make them more difficult now to prepare for as a defense for Lloyd Carr?
Absolutely, and I think that's the sign of a good coach, is to look at your team, see where you are, see where you want to be down the stretch, and what's going to help you do that. And what you look at is your strengths, and Kyle Orton right now is throwing with a lot of velocity. He's running a lot of different screens. He's throwing the ball down the field. They're complementing their play-action passes with good inside runs, and just a real good job of evaluating his talent and taking it to another level, and knowing that his defense can stop most teams and they maybe can take a few more risks.
Well, man who's certainly seen a lot of Purdue in the last few years, and in the Joe Tiller era, is Jack Arute, who will be on the sidelines for this game. Again, they will play 3:30 Eastern Time on ABC and ESPN Game Plan. Jack, kind enough to join us on the phone. Jack, thanks a lot for your time, and I'm interested in your take on what Joe Tiller did against Wisconsin, coming out and throwing the 55 passes with a team that really had become almost run-oriented this year. What does that tell you about Joe Tiller as a coach?
Well, I think what it tells us all, Dave, is that contrary to what we thought back in '97 when they hired him, he's going to do whatever it takes to put the best offensive game plan out there. And, you know, I love the comment after the game when he goes, yeah, can you believe it? We threw 55 passes. You know, he's kind of downplaying the fact that he didn't have the aerial attack that like the 80 or 88 that he'd have back in Drew Brees' day. And you guys were talking about special teams. I think the big change that Joe's made there is he's taken all of his coaches, like a lot of coaches do, and have assigned them one particular special team, and then taken Coach Hagan and saying to Mark, look, you're like the CEO. You've got to make sure that everybody's playing the right way and going after the ball. And I don't think enough coaches pay enough attention to special teams.
Jack, Purdue is keeping the ball nearly 35 minutes a game, and a lot of that was because they were running the ball, and now they're throwing the ball. But how important is keeping, the ball away from John Navarre?
You know, Ivan, I don't think it's as important as keeping it away from some other teams. I think John is still has a good day, has a bad day, then has a good quarter, then has a bad quarter. And I think what I'm more concerned about in this game is what kind of a defense is Lloyd Carr going to have for this mix-it-up, just throw anything, including the kitchen sink at you, that Joe Tiller brings. And, I just think that the defense on Michigan is a little bit more suspect than people are giving it credit for.
Well, I agree, Jack, but talking about the Michigan offense, how are you going to get Chris Perry to make any rushing yards against this good Purdue defense?
Well, I think especially up the middle. You know how strong they are, Coach Purdue, and this the mad Greek there in the middle, Nico Kosavides. I mean, he's just a wild man, and I think the key is you're going to have to try and do some play action, do some nice little bubble screens, and keep people at home, and then remind Chris that this isn't Notre Dame he's playing.
And we're looking at Chris Perry right here, Jack. I'm interested, though, in your thoughts on Steve Breston. How much have you been able to watch him, and how impressed are you?
I think Steve Breston is probably not only the future, but forget the kick returns and the punt returns. Get him out there a wide out, and that'll make something happen for John Navarre. And, hey, let's not forget the Minnesota game. How about putting Navarre out at tight end every now and again?
That's a good point. I'm curious, we heard Joe Tiller allude to it, Jack, but the possibility that a team could go on the road against tough teams as much as Purdue has and still win the Big Ten. Do you really think it's possible?
I think it's possible, especially this season, Ivan. I mean, these guys all control their own destiny now that Wisconsin had a good game and a bad game.
All right, Jack Arute, we will be looking for you on the sidelines at Michigan Stadium, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday on ABC and ESPN Game Plan. Jack, as always, we really appreciate you taking some time out of your week to talk to us.
Thanks, fellas.
That is Jack Arute, be on the sidelines for that game between Michigan and Purdue. Should be a great one. We're going to hear from Lloyd Carr, the head coach of the Wolverines. That is coming up just moments from now as we continue on the ADT Coaches Spotlight. And he'll talk about getting Chris Perry going, and not against a run defense like Illinois, with all due respect, but against a run defense like Purdue. These guys are going to hit you. Can the Wolverines get it going? We'll discuss.
Welcome back to the ADT Coaches Spotlight on ESPN News.
We are back as we look at the Big Ten leaders in passing offense, and there you see Michigan on top. Some of that has to do with the fact that they have really struggled to run the ball, particularly against good run defenses, and we've seen that the last few weeks as they've gotten into the Big Ten. They did run it fairly well against Illinois. They did not against Minnesota. But what's on Lloyd Carr's mind heading into this game is Purdue and the evolution of this team under Joe Tiller.
But obviously they're still having success. Are they more fundamentally sound than people realize because their offense is different?
Well, I think the big question when they came into this league, and I still think this is true, and I think it's probably true most places. Great defense gives you the best chance to win championships. And if you look down through the course of Big Ten history, I think that'll be verified. And I think the big question mark, because of the way spring in college football, you don't have exhibition games where you play against other teams. You play against yourself. You play against yourself in the spring. You play against yourself in training camp. And I think the big question mark was whether you could develop a strong defense when your offensive team was predominantly based on throwing the football. But Purdue, and I was one of those who questioned that, but I'm the first to say nobody's played better defense last year or this year than Purdue, and I think they've proven that you can develop an outstanding defense with the spread passing game. So I think that's what they've been able to do. That is impressive.
Boyd, is the passing game more in sync right now? Starting with John to the receivers running the right routes and the right reads, it appears like, just from the numbers, that the passing game is much better than the past two games.
Well, I think we've done a great job of pass protecting, because if you're going to throw the football, you have to protect the passer. And I think John does an excellent job of, there's always one defender that the quarterback is responsible for. If that guy comes, the quarterback has to know who he is, and if he's unblocked, or if he comes, the quarterback knows he's unblocked, and now he's got to get rid of the football and go to the right spot. If he doesn't recognize that, he's going to get hit, he's going to get sacked, the ball's going to come loose, he's going to throw interceptions, all those things. And so I think Navarre does an excellent job of knowing his protections, knowing the strengths and weaknesses of where he's being attacked. And so, I think that's, we have not had a lot of all-out blitzes. I think probably because John does a good job with it, and we do have some receivers that can beat you. So, that's not to say that we're not going to get it, because Purdue is a team that, particularly when you get to the red zone, they're going to bring the house, and now you better be able to get rid of it, and somebody better get open.
Boyd Carfont, coach of the Wolverines. His team is bowl eligible for the 29th straight season, obviously. Not all under Lloyd. A guy named Bo had something to do about that. And we look at the statistics here, and we were talking, and Nick Saban was saying, some of these statistics are mumbo-jumbo. That's a stat there. They're second in the nation in pass defense. That stat may, in fact, be mumbo-jumbo, Ivan.
Well, if you look at it, is when you look at who they've played, Dave. They've got Notre Dame, which cannot throw the ball, Minnesota, which doesn't like to throw the ball, and Illinois, which had a redshirt freshman making his first start at quarterback. And I think Illinois had 23 pass attempts and got 100 yards. So, clearly it's not quite what it seems.
Yeah, and when Minnesota goes for 424 yards on the ground against you,
why throw
you
it?
say, well, what's the point of throwing the ball? So, yeah, you're going to look good on pass defense there. We do have an email question off ESPNnews.com. This one is for you, Coach Don, and it comes from Jeremy in Big Rapids, Michigan. Wants to know whether or not the Wolverines have a shot at the Big Ten title.
I really think that Michigan right now, in my mind, is a team to beat. You talk about rushing offense. That's one thing, not having a rushing offense, but they've got enough power there with Perry. But they can fall back on their passing game, and if their defense can be solid and not give up a lot of big plays against Purdue, I think they can go down to that game against, of course, they got to play Michigan State next week, which I forgot about. But, I think Michigan right now is the odds-on favorite to win it for me.
Well, they are going to come up against two really good run defenses. And I was going through and pretending I was Brad Edwards for a little while and pouring through the stats yesterday. Brad does such a great job with the research. 294 yards per game they are averaging rushing against teams in the bottom half of the nation in rush defense. Against teams in the top half of the nation in rush defense, 88 yards per game. Purdue is third. We know how good Michigan State is, so that does not bode well the next couple weeks. They need to figure out a way to run the football.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with Jim that they've got that they're the team to beat in the Big Ten. I mean, the schedule favors them the most, and you can't deny that, and that's a huge mark in their favor. But, Purdue's hot, nobody's hotter than Michigan State, and, I don't know. I just have a queasy feeling about Michigan.
Well, it is going to be a difficult run for them, and then, of course, Ohio State at the end of the year. That game is in Ann Arbor this year, but it's not going to be easy for Michigan if they're going to get through this, but the same can be said of Purdue, and a lot of these teams. The Big Ten is so balanced every week. It's a tough game. And Ohio State, well, maybe it's not a tough game every week. They have Indiana this week, but they did have a tough game against Iowa. We're coming back to discuss the Buckeyes in a moment.
John Navarre led the Wolverines in the air, and Chris Perry, who leads the Big Ten in rushing yards per game, continued his dominance on the ground. Sophomore Steve Bruston proved once again why he's one of the most electrifying punt returners in the country. The Purdue Boilermakers, winners of their last 6, have been firing on all cylinders. Last week against Wisconsin, quarterback Kyle Orton threw 55 passes to the Big Ten reception leaders John Standiford and Taylor Stubblefield. On the last drive, Orton drove the Boilermakers 82 yards for a game-winning field goal, which kept Purdue unbeaten in the Big Ten. The famed tunnel entrance at the Big House in Ann Arbor, Michigan. We welcome you to the BCS Spotlight game presented by ADT. Doesn't get any bigger than this. Purdue and Michigan, both dreaming of a Big Ten championship, both chasing the unbeaten Spartans of Michigan State. Welcome, everybody. With Gary Danielson, I'm Brent Musburger. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been 37 long years since Gary's alma mater's been able to win here. You talk about a curse, my friend. It's the curse of the Big House. So what's going to decide this showdown today?
Well, Brent, it's still baseball season, isn't it, technically?
Yeah, sure.
What wins in baseball?
Pitching and a little defense?
Well, I think that's what's going to win here today. First of all, pitching. Kyle Orton and John Navarre must get their ball clubs late in this football game. And then I think it's going to be defense that decides it. Michigan must come through. They got to put some pressure on Kyle Orton. Purdue has the top-rated defense in the Big Ten, but today they're going to face the most balanced offense they've faced all year. They got to stop the run.
All right, let's go to Jackaroo with Purdue coach Joe Teller.
Well, Brent, 1 week ago, this coach and this team managed to beat Wisconsin with an aerial attack. What about today with the inclement weather, Coach?
Well, I don't think so. We'd like to have some balance, Jack, if we can. Hopefully we will.
Brent, they told me they're going to try to establish the run today more.
All right, Jack. The kickoff is coming up. And then settle back for a good old Big Ten battle between Purdue and Michigan.
John Navarre hoping to avoid what hasn't happened since 1966. That's let a Purdue team walk into the Big House and come up with a win. John Saunders, Terry Bowden, and Craig James. When you look at this game, it seems it's clear what Purdue must do to stop Michigan.
Stop the run. Purdue's the best defense they played against Oregon, against Iowa. Michigan couldn't run it. Chris Perry had 26 yards, and then he had 88. Stop him, and you win the game.
And, you know, it's really clear what the challenge is for both teams in this football game. But you keep hearing the word balance. You heard Gary talking about it, Tiller talking about it. Balance being the key word, and I think that the opportunity falls in John Navarre's hand. John Navarre doesn't have to answer questions any longer about can he get it done or not get it done. Now, John Navarre has a chance, I believe, with his confidence to go out and get it done.
You see the numbers offensively versus defensively. A few other games. The Ohio State Buckeyes, well, they finally found their offense today, guys. 35-6 a winner.
Well, they found Indiana's what they found. That's the best cure for anybody's offense. Nice to see the running game.
Yeah, and Iowa, you know, Iowa's a football team, played just well enough. Penn State just couldn't catch it. They couldn't make plays.
And for some reason, Barry Alvarez struggles against Northwestern.
He's 6-6 now, but he also lost to UNLV. Wisconsin's going to hurt this team because they had a chance with better strength of schedule. Like you said, it's going to hurt a team like Michigan State.
Michigan State, the team I thought was going to get some strength of schedule. Now they lose Wisconsin.
We'll see again at halftime and throughout the rest of the game with scores and highlights. Right now, let's take it back out to Brent Musburger.
Right now it's comfortable in Ann Arbor. It rained earlier today. Showers are in the forecast, but at the moment overcast and very good football weather. We'll get into the game with enhanced TV at ESPN.com. Play along, get up-to-the-minute stats, vote and polls, enter to win an all-new SUV. Now let's take a look at the BCS standings presented by Allstate as we run down the top 10. And you would have imagined come this time of the year and the last time we were here, we saw Michigan run all over Notre Dame, but look who's missing. Michigan not there, and Purdue ranked number 8. Virginia Tech, of course, will drop way down after being upset by West Virginia on Wednesday night. Oklahoma and Miami are in control of the destiny of this game as we go down below to Jackaroo.
Well, Brett, before the team came out, the Purdue Boilermakers seniors held a private meeting. They threw all the coaches out. They talked about the terrible record that the team has here in the Big House. The seniors challenged the rest of the team to put an end to it today.
Hey, you know, Jack, back in 1966, Lloyd Carr was a backup quarterback at Missouri en route to the Sugar Bowl. Joe Tiller was a second-year coach at Montana State in Bozeman 37 long years ago. Michigan, having won the toss, defers, so Purdue will take the ball to begin the game. From the 6-yard line, it's Brooks, the running back. And he's down at the 21-yard line, and let's meet Purdue's junior quarterback.
I'm Kyle Orton, and I throw to the top Big Ten reception leaders, Taylor Stubblefield and John Sanford.
And he's been very accurate. 302 attempts, goes back to last season, only 2 picks.
I think he's the most improved player in the Big Ten.
Willis Behringer has replaced Marlon Jackson. We've been waiting to see that. Jackson is in uniform, is wearing pads, but he's the safety for Michigan. And folks, that's a big story. Purdue upstairs looking down at the Michigan defense. I'm sure they see it. Purdue runs for about a yard on first down. Our principal financial group starting lineups. This offensive line. Look to the right now. Tyler Moore and Kelly Butler. Both are from Michigan. They lead the way for Purdue. And then in behind, the skill players. And Standiford and Stubblefield, who Morton referred to, of course, caught all those passes. And Jones' field goal was set up by a catch by Ray Williams. So it is second down and long coming up for the Boilermakers after the first down run. Incomplete. Now the freshman making an impact, Lamar Woodley, recruited as a linebacker, was so good against Minnesota they moved him in to start at defensive end. The leading tackler, Lawrence Reed, is number 42. And here is Marlon Jackson. Is he healthy? Obviously not completely. Behringer drawing a start. Purdue goes incomplete on its first pass of the game, and now it is third down. Kyle Orton, the junior from Iowa, back in the shotgun. Incomplete. So they dropped the first 2. That was John Standiford. Now our Steve Bruston performance track, because he's the dangerous one receiving punts. And he's now due to handle the ball for the first time, and electrifying punt return last week, standing back inside the 35-yard line, waving everybody away. And it's out of bounds. They go for the angle to the left side, and the ball is out of bounds at the 39-yard line. And that's where John Navarre, the Michigan senior quarterback, will put it in play.
John Navarre, 5th-year senior, majoring in communications.
With a fine record here in the Big House, 18-2 as a starter. So Lloyd Carr's offense opens with a fullback in a very familiar eye. Here's Perry. Jumped over to the left, and now he's over 1,000 yards. Needed just 1 yard to get there as Stuart Schweigert, the safety for Purdue, jumps in, and he now has put together back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons here at Michigan.
Chris Perry got hit right on the thigh and got up very slowly right there. Let's watch that. Stuart Schweigert put his shoulder right on Perry's thigh. He's still rubbing it and moving it.
Michigan goes to the 4-wide look with just Perry to protect Navarre. The 3-step drop and almost picked off. Ball was thrown low, and Phillips, that defensive end on that side, almost intercepted it. Sean Phillips out of Willingboro, New Jersey, knocks it down. And our principal financial group lineups now, and this Wolverine offensive line, Pape Lentz, Pearson, Voss, and Stinovich, for the most part, they've done a good job. But here are the weapons galore. Edwards, Avan, Rustin, Nassakor. And when they get to the kicking game, well, they've been horrible punting, but sensational returning punts. So it is now 3rd down for Navarre. Takes a deeper drop, steps up, fires, incomplete behind Edwards that time. And Edwards was tracked by Rogers, number 12.
He was tracked, but he was open. That was a poor throw by John Navarre. The Purdue receivers and the Michigan quarterback so far has started very slowly in this game.
Adam Finley, the senior punter from Greenwood, Indiana, onto the field here. Anthony Chambers back deep for Purdue. Fine punt inside the 15-yard line. Back to the 12, but he breaks the first tackle, but he can get no further than about the 16-yard line, and that will be the spot that Purdue will put it in play for the 2nd time here today. We start out defense dominating, but it's early. Number 3 has his helmet on, but he's still on the sidelines. So Jackson watching. One of the premier defensive backs in the country. Behringer back at a lone safety. Purdue spreads the field. 5 wide. Orton now studies the defense and now brings in a little bit of help. Jeff Bennett moves in case Michigan wants to blitz that formation. They're on Orton, incomplete. He didn't have any time because Behringer blitzed him. Number 19. So the sophomore from Toledo, Ohio comes in on him.
Jimmy Herman is rolling the dice. Michigan has blitzed on every play. They have come. They decided to put pressure. You can see it. Behringer this time. Hot throw that out by Kyle Orton, and Michigan was right there. Purdue's game plan was trying not to face a lot of Michigan's dime packages, but without Marlon Jackson, they might be willing to throw against Michigan's dime.
Void is the running back. Orton is 0 for 3 to start this game in the Big House. Void for a couple of yards, and Carl Diggs, the linebacker from Warren, Ohio, in on that stop.
This has to be a terrible start, at least in Joe Tiller's mind. Remember when Drew Brees came in here? 15 drop balls that day for Drew Brees. So far, out of the 2 catchable balls for Purdue, 2 drops.
John Shaw and Leon Hall are in the defensive backfield for Michigan. That gives them 6 DBs out there now as Orton and Purdue spread it here in 3rd and long. Orton changes it up. Looking for an open man, fires, got it complete, but short of the first down. It was jumped like LeSueur first, and then Leon Hall on that side comes up to make the stop, but you will see LeSueur go for the pick.
Went out right there, and you see it. We could drop off to the outside right there as 2 players. LeSueur is right there. Good defense by Michigan, forcing a great throw from Kyle Orton.
Hunting again. Brent Slayton, the senior from Rusk, Texas, standing on the Purdue 11-yard line. Preston again. Watch the hang time. It is so important in this game with Preston. And again, they're going left sideline, and Preston will not touch the football. It's going to be marked at the 35-yard line. And we have a penalty flag thrown back on the 21-yard line.
If it's on Michigan, it would be a first down. Holding Purdue.
Jimmy Lapatina, veteran referee. Got a good umpire with him today, Percy Munn.
Holding on the offense. Kind of a decline. First down.
White Cars Wolverines coming up with their 2nd possession of the game. We're scoreless here in Ann Arbor. ABC Sports presentation of college football is brought to you by SBC, going beyond the call. The Principal Financial Group, we understand what you're working for. And Dodge, you can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horn. John Navarre in Michigan back out on the field. The running back is Chris Perry, number 23. 3 wide receivers and 3 of the most dangerous in the business, Edwards, Avant, and Breston. Perry breaks free. A 10-yard run for a first down The ball's at the 45.
Oh, boy, I tell you, Chris Berry is really struggling. Let's go get the victory recipe in this game. Control the line of scrimmage. Both defensive coordinators told me if either team runs for 100 yards, they're going to lose. Complete the gimmies. No drop balls. Quarterback, you can't miss it. Yards after catch. And, of course, turnovers. Squeeze the pig. So far, Purdue 2 drop balls. John Navarre 1 missed pass.
The safeties for Purdue are the all Big Ten senior Schweigert and number 41, a freshman, Bernard Pollard, out alongside him. Penalty flag on the play. Perry picks up a couple of yards. There's a penalty flag thrown on both sides of the field. Purdue's defense under Joe Tiller has come a long ways, and the sack master here is Sean Phillips, who's already knocked down a pass. Probably an underrated defensive front seven. Very good. The leading tackler, Landon Johnson, but they are solid with those 3 linebackers. And then in the defensive backfield, we've told you about Schweigert. 16 career interceptions. He's the career leader at Purdue.
Brent, the officials are just having a little bit of a conference here because it looked like Michigan had 2 men in position, and yes, 2 different penalties I think were called on the play.
On the offsetting penalty, remains at the 45. It also remains first down.
So the offset, first down and 10. Wolverines come out from their own 45-yard line. They go still the 1 back. Sacked at the 40-yard line by Kevin Nesfield, the 5th-year senior out of Houston, Texas.
Game plan exactly as drawn up by the Purdue Boilermakers. Brock's back. He wants the man-covered Michigan's receivers. There you see Brock right there, former linebacker at Purdue, now defensive coordinator. He wants the man cover and bracket most of the game and hope his defensive ends can put pressure on John Navarre.
Massacoy, the tight end, flexes out, and they bring Edwards back in motion. So on 2nd and long, Navarre to drop the screen pass off to Perry, the running back. Got an alley on the right side, and he's out to midfield, and Landon Johnson out of Lubbock, Texas, runs him down. So many weapons, and head coach Joe Tiller was asked about trying to beat this Michigan team.
Michigan has so many tools in their toolbox, so to speak, that they can attack you in a number of different ways on both sides of the football, and as a result, you almost have to get involved in the game and figure out what their game plan is and then try to counter it based on what's happening.
Joe Tiller's done a remarkable job at Purdue, made them one of the powers every year in the Big Ten. They had a lot of tough losses last year. Now on 3rd down, Navarre stands middle, got him open. It's Avant. First down at the Purdue 31-yard line, and that time they got into center field against Purdue. That's a target area for them, and Avant has become a comfort blanket for Navarre.
Freshman free safety right there, Pollard. Watch, he busts on the play. Doesn't know what to do. The man goes in motion. Pollard is confused. He does not take the first crossing route. He runs right by him and goes to the second, and that's why a wide open Michigan player is in the middle of the field. True freshman Bernard Pollard busts on the coverage, and that's why Michigan gets the first down.
With a 19-yard gain. They now go to the power I look and run Perry behind it. And he's trying to cut back. Navarre throws a beautiful block for him, but still he gives up 3 yards on the loss. But what a crushing block by Navarre. Well, let's check in on Oklahoma State. We send you to John Saunders.
Brent, and the Xerox update. Oklahoma State, Texas A&M. Josh Fields rolls to his right, points downfield, and guess who? Rashawn Woods has it for the first touchdown of the game. Oak State up 7-0 on the road at A&M.
Big 2 weeks coming up for Okie State. Today against Texas A&M, and next week the showdown with the Sooners in Norman. 2nd down and long now. There's Navarre. Pocket holds, and he's got Avant again. So the basketball player from Carver High School in Chicago picks up a first down at the 16-yard line.
Well, you talked about John Navarre's block on that Chris Perry run. That's, John's been through so much, but his teammates love him because he does stuff like this. He's caught a touchdown pass. He's very competitive, and he's also thrown for over 8,000 yards. That's some pretty good company up there.
He's down at 10 with the ball at the 16-yard line. Perry looking to cut back. Made his way to the 15 for a yard, and Phillips makes the stop there.
Michigan's favorite formation, even on first down now, is 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and a running back. And talking about John Navarre throwing for 8,000 yards plus, it's a pretty good darn list right there. Breeze is leading it. Chuck Long, of course, the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, is up there, and Navarre pulls into 6th place.
Second down. Navarre looks in zone. Got Edwards for the touchdown. Braylon Edwards, the junior from Detroit. And the Wolverines strike first.
Joe Tiller said tools in a big toolbox. Well, this is one of the biggest one right here. John Navarre looks off left, holds the safety, and then big Braylon Edwards comes right across the line for the touchdown.
Garrett Rivas out of the mat. Gutierrez hold. Nails it, and it's 7-0 here in the early going. Braylon Edwards puts 6 on the board for Michigan. Halfway through the opening quarter, and it's been all Wolverines here so far. They've held Purdue to 9 total yards. They lead at 7-0. And with the ball on the tee is Troy Nienberg, the kickoff man here for Michigan. Brooks and Void back deep for the Boilermakers, who need a play to spark something here. They've been very flat so far. Brooks for Michigan. Check that, there's Void coming out. Let me check myself. That out to the 29-yard line is Void.
Look at what a nice job John Navarre does. Watch this. We're going to stop it right here. Look at the stripes on his helmet. He looks to his left right there. That really allows to make sure if there's a safety, he controls it. Then when he makes the throw, he knows he's got one-on-one contact out there. Reeves against Braylon. He puts it up high to his big receiver for the touchdown.
Behringer still on the field for the Wolverines, and why not? Orton is 1 of 4 for 6 yards. Behringer with a successful blitz a little bit earlier in this game. And now let's see if Purdue can get itself into sync. Jared Void out of Clinton, Maryland, is the running back behind Orton. They have moved Orton up behind center with the noise factor down here. Void slips a tackle, trying to get turned upfield, and he is ridden out of bounds at the 33-yard line, a gain of about 4. We check in on Washington with John.
Big game for USC especially, and Kenny James takes the handoff, gets popped once the line of scrimmage, and then a couple of yards later, and then just rolls his way to the end zone. 15 yards on the touchdown run. Washington hits the board first, 7-0.
All right, and here, John, at the top of the hour, we see that Michigan leads it 7-0. Second down now coming up for the Boilermakers. Charles Davis is off the bench. He's the big tight end. Orton throws high and incomplete. And third down. Well, our Dodge defensive playbook right now will look like this.
And it's been Jimmy Herman, defensive coordinator, deciding to say to Purdue, you better block us because we're coming after you. We're not going to let you dink and dunk us. It's been safeties, linebackers. There it was Behringer. So far, the move, at least the first move in the game, has been Jimmy Herman saying we're going to attack the Purdue quarterback.
Probably because of Behringer, they're using cards to flash signals to the defense on the sideline. 3 rushmen now in this look defensively on third down. Now they show pressure. Orton in trouble. Ball put on the ground. Michigan's got it, but it might have been whistled. Michigan has recovered the ball. The way Orton behaved, it was like he thought the play was whistled dead, and there is a flag thrown on the play.
I thought it was delay a game.
Prior to the snap, delay a game.
Yes.
Offense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot.
So that's why Orton's body language indicated that he did not have to fight back on this particular play. And tomorrow on ABC, she was lost for 2 years. Now Agent Bristow risked it all to expose the secrets of her disappearance. A new season just getting started. Alias ABC tomorrow.
When Purdue threw 55 passes last week versus Wisconsin, they knew the defense. They knew it was going to be zone, and they knew what was coming every play. So far against Michigan, they are completely off guard.
3rd down and 11. The blitz. Orton in a foot race gets away from Stevens, but he's smashed at the 31-yard line by linebacker Lawrence Reed, number 42.
You must put pressure on the quarterback. Purdue's too good pitching and catching, and that's exactly what Michigan's doing so far to take charge of this game early in the first quarter.
One of the few times this year that Purdue has had 3 consecutive 3-and-outs. Who knows, could well be the first as Michigan's defense continues to dominate this game. And will they continue to punt away from Steve Bruston, who is standing at the Michigan 27-yard line? They drive Bruston this time back inside the 15-yard line, looking for an alley, trying to cut back. Does twice, but there's a penalty flag thrown. The way he was cutting back, I'd be surprised if there's not an illegal block on this play.
Rogers on the stop.
Goes against the Wolverines, so that will move them back, and Lloyd not happy with that. He's talking to the youngster there on the sideline. And next weekend, Survival Saturday, as we hit November, Terry and I will be in East Lansing. Michigan State. Also Nebraska, Texas is going to be early. Then the second game of the doubleheader. Ohio State, Penn State, and Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. Virginia, NC State in the ACC. So we'll get started at noon up in East Lansing. Michigan State off today. I'm sure many of the players and coaches are watching this game with great interest. But Michigan has been pushed back to about the 10-yard line here, leading it by 7. And so far they have featured their running back Perry, who has carried the ball 4 times. He's caught a pass, so he's touched the ball 5 times in this game. Avant has 2 receptions for 37 yards. Here comes Perry again, and nowhere against that front.
Well, we saw Perry early against Notre Dame, such a great senior running back for Michigan. What makes him so good? He's a complete back. He's got those soft hands, like pillows when you throw him the football. Yet when he's called on to do things that tailbacks are called on to do, he can be that extra blocker in the backfield. He's got big upper body strength and those quick feet. Look at that. Complete back.
Timmy Massaquoi in to give Michigan 2 tight ends in this look. And Edwards out wide. They're going to put it into Edwards' hands immediately, one-on-one against the defensive back, and he's ridden out of bounds at the 16 by Reeves, the senior corner from Lancaster, Texas. And we check in with Jack Arute.
Well, Brent, a couple of weeks ago, Braylon Edwards ended speculation about his future when he informed the coaches and fans that he intended to return to the Wolverines in 2004 for his senior season. He cited 3 unfulfilled desires. 1, he says, I still want to win a national championship. 2, he says he still needs to mature. And 3, he says, for my family, I want to get my degree on time. Stay tuned.
3rd down and 5. Now Purdue shows pressure against Navarre. He puts it into Edwards' hands, who stretches, first down at the 21-yard line. Rogers was the cornerback there that time.
Boy, the Michigan offensive line did a great job against that pressure. John Navarre knew it was coming. He kept backpedaling, waiting for Braylon Edwards to come out of his short route, and delivered it. Braylon, complete player. And see, it switched to number 1. A lot of pressure with that number around here.
First down and 10. The Wolverines have hit 2 of 3 third downs here in the early going. Swing, and it was deflected, incomplete. 2nd down and 10.
Boy, Sean Phillips came around the corner that time. 8 sacks this year, and he came around and got that ball knocked down by John Navarre.
So the Big Ten had an important day. What an upset by Northwestern up in Evanston to pick off Wisconsin. The Wildcats a double-digit underdog in that game. Minnesota, big comeback win over Illinois. They've been flat. Ohio State finally with some offense. And Iowa beats Penn State. A lot of folks were touting Penn State as a possible upset. They thought it might be a lingering hangover for the Hawkeyes after the tough loss in Columbus, but it wasn't to be. Draw play by the Wolverines. Perry. And this is going to leave them with a 3rd and long. So I'm sure we'll see that familiar 3-pack. And remember, Avant, number 8, has been his go-to guy in this situation. There's a comfort zone. Preston, he has not thrown to him yet. Edwards, of course, has the touchdown. And the play comes in from the sideline now. And Navarre will be ready to go here on 3rd and 7. He is 2 of 3 on 3rd downs here. They'll send Avant out far to the left, and they'll slot Edwards this time. They'll hope to get Edwards onto a safety. Remember, they scored a touchdown, bringing him into the middle of the field. Navarre's back, looks that way, can't get him open, takes off. Breaks a tackle, and he's just short of the 1st down. He's down to the 31-yard line. He had to reach just beyond the 32 to get the 1st down.
You know, Brandon, it was a pretty good play by John Navarre because for the first time this year, Purdue came with a 3-man line and confused the Michigan offense. Everyone back there was bracketed in double coverage, and the Purdue game plan is, John Navarre, pull it down. We don't think you can beat us running.
All right, now, remember, Michigan's had trouble punting the ball this year. They want to set a return, and Chambers driven back to the 25. He's got an alley on the left side to the 40-yard line. Well, Joe Tiller, such an interesting guy, came to Purdue from Wyoming. Let's meet the rascal.
My favorite TV show is Cheers, and I guess it's Cheers because I could see myself on one of the stools. My favorite food is barbecued ribs along with anything else that's on the plate. My favorite historic figure is Harry S. Truman because the buck stops here.
And it stops right there indeed. Joe and Purdue trailing by 7 now. 1st down and 10 for Kyle Orton. Up underneath center. Using an H-back look with the tight end. Handed to Jones, who's in. So Brandon Jones, the sophomore from Peru, Indiana, will get a crack at running the football here. And so far, the Michigan defense just dominating the game. They've held Purdue to 17 total yards.
Yeah, here's the Michigan defense, a dime package. They come out after every play. They look back at the coach, and they're ready to go should Jimmy Herman decide to go dime package. Obviously, this time 2nd long. They don't. They stay with their regular defense.
Standiford been shut out so far. Stubblefield only 1 reception. 4 wide.
No safety.
High snap. Orton's going to get hit. Fumble! And Purdue pounces on it as Orton was crushed by Shazer. The junior safety from Detroit came blindside free on the quarterback, and they are just jumping all over this Purdue passing attack right now.
2nd time in the game, Kyle Orton got a bad snap. He knew it was coming. Michigan tried to scoop with the ball and run with it that time. It was Biggs who had a chance to fall on it. Rondell Biggs, instead of trying to get a touchdown, if he falls on it, it's Michigan's ball.
But they're back in 3rd and 18. One different look after another by Michigan against Orton. Middle, another pass is dropped.
Boy, this is nightmares for the Purdue offense. Just nightmares. Coming back, 15 drops. If Drew Brees is watching, he remembers.
Coming up on the Capital One halftime show, John, Terry, and Craig will have highlights and analysis of the day's biggest games. Preston back deep again, standing inside the 25-yard line. That's Slayton, number 46. Just did get it off. And again, it's the left side. And Preston crossing the field like he did last week. Looking for an alley. Still free at the 49-yard line, and the first thing I'm doing is looking for yellow, and I don't see any. As Preston went to the sideline and again came clear across field like he did last week.
Jason Avant had a huge block to get him around the corner, but Preston's special, isn't he?
A 31-yard return.
Watch Avant come on the left side of your screen, number 8, right there. Ooh, that's a receiver protecting a receiver to get to the corner.
And now it's a short field for Navarre and the Wolverines here. 1:28 to go in the opening quarter. Perry again brought down at the 44-yard line. Let's check in with Jack.
Well, Brent, we watched that Steve Breston, and Lloyd Carr says it reminds him of one Anthony Carter. He told Steve Breston about the legendary running back here, and Steve Breston said, "Who's Anthony Carter?" Then all of a sudden we realized Breston was born in 1983. Carter made all of his great runs in 81 and 82. He gets to watch him on video.
Timeout has been called by the Wolverines. They used one here in the last minute of the opening quarter. They lead it by 7.
Big Ten football is a special tradition.
More than 5.5 million fans pack our stadiums each year,
Making Big Ten football what it is today.
So respect the game and show good sportsmanship, because the Big Ten sets an example for everyone to follow.
Before, during, and after the game.
Big Ten football. Good sports make great fans.
7-0 in Ann Arbor. Michigan leading Purdue. Boilermakers a half game away from tying Michigan State. Last week they won at Madison. They still have a road game in Columbus, Ohio, coming up against Ohio State. So for Purdue, it's been a very, very tough schedule this season. Their only loss, and it was non-conference, at the hands of a very good Bowling Green team by a point as they opened up the season. Bowling Green, of course, today with a showdown game against Northern Illinois. The unbeaten Huskies, one of the pleasant surprises of this football season.
Ooh, those are ugly. Ugly for Purdue. Michigan defense is all over them right now. I got to hand it to Chris Perry so far in this football game. I believe he's playing nicked. He got hit right on that thigh board, and he is fighting through it in this big game.
2nd down and 4. To the middle, and a first down for the Wolverines. You know, we've asked John Navarre from time to time what it's like being in the spotlight here in Ann Arbor.
You got to deal with media. You got to deal with critics. You got to deal with coaches putting pressure on you to perform, and you got to deal with success too. There's another side of it. People are going to tell you how good you are, and you can't let that get in the way.
He's back deep now, firing end zone. He overthrew Braylon Edwards, who caught a touchdown pass. They had double coverage that time as Schweigert was able to get over the top and join the corner with the coverage. Let's go back on John Navarre just a moment. No one in college football has been any more criticized than this young man, and sometimes very undeservedly so.
Oh, I believe so, Brandon. I think it's made him tougher and a better person, and I think his teammates really respect him for how he's taken it, hasn't complained about it, and just made himself a better football player. He's getting better every year, and you can see it as you watch him play from year to year.
2nd down and 10. Offensive line doing a very good job, and Perry drops the ball on the swing pass over at the 40-yard line. Got away from him, and Perry was rushed for 29 yards here in the opening quarter. He had caught one ball for 8 yards, but now that puts the Wolverines in 3rd and 10.
Usually when you look at Chris Perry during a game, he is talkative, he's smiling, he's talking to people. I think he's concentrating on that injury a little bit and has him a little bit off balance. I don't see Chris Perry dropping a lot of balls like that.
Base 4-3 for Purdue. Navarre going to go deep sideline. Avant's got a step, and the corner caught up with him, and there's a penalty flag as Rogers came up over on Avant. The penalty flag thrown by the back judge.
Usually it's because your left arm holds on to the receiver while you jump and deflect the ball with your right hand. Let's see if Antoine Rogers didn't lose his concentration, didn't trust it. Let's see if his left arm grabs the jersey or not. See it? His left arm grabs right on the helmet right there while his right arm goes up for the deflection. Lack of confidence to grab the receiver cost Purdue a penalty.
Automatic first down for the Wolverines. In the NFL, of course, it would have been a spot foul at the 1-yard line. But in college football, what I think is a little bit fairer penalty in a situation like that. But the ball is moved to the 21-yard line on the 15-yard penalty, and it'll be first down for the Wolverines. Into round, it's Preston. Navarre's out to block. Here comes Preston, the speed burner. 10, 5, touchdown. You can't stop him. He's a cutback waiting to happen. One of the most dangerous young runners we've seen in a long, long time. Steve Preston from North Braddock, Pennsylvania, recruited away from the Pittsburgh Panthers, where several of his high school teammates are enjoying solid careers, and the Wolverines are very happy to have him.
High school quarterback, you can tell what a great athlete he is.
Rivas, Gutierrez the holder. And the Wolverines, with time running out on the opening quarter, take a 2-touchdown lead.
Watch this. 100% of the time when Michigan goes in motion and back like that, they run the ball. Purdue had the key, just didn't have the athletes to catch this guy on a reverse. Swigert gets blocked for the touchdown.
Dave Pearson, the center, with an excellent blocking job.
ABC Sports welcomes you back to this week's BCS Spotlight Game presented by ADT.
All you're left to say is the curse continues for the big house here for Joe Tiller and Purdue. And Gary, your point is well taken. They got to throw the ball.
They do. I think Purdue has to go 5 wide receivers. They wanted to avoid Michigan's dime package. I don't think they can. They're just going to have to throw it short. I see 50 passes for Purdue.
Into the end zone, coming out of the 20. Well, Steve Preston, Gary mentioned that he had been a high school quarterback, and so we asked him yesterday about the move from quarterback to wide receiver at Michigan.
This is my role here. I mean, it's kind of hard going from touching the ball every play to, seeing them probably like maybe 4, a couple times a game. So, I mean, but this is my role here, and I'm having a fun time doing it.
Yesterday was one of his first interviews on camera. He's just somewhat shy, a little bit self-effacing, just very pleasant, soft-spoken, and folks, remember the name, Steve Preston. He's just got an unbelievable future in front of him. Now Purdue trying to rally, trying to get something going here against the Wolverines. 3 down linemen, and the short pass, they put it in Standiford's hands on first down. And let's check in now on USC with John Saunders in New York.
Well, they fell down 7-0 actually to Washington and come back to tie at 7-7. Cody Pickett picked up by Ronald Nunn, who returns it 57 yards for the touchdown. And Pickett was upset with his fans last week. He may be upset with them again this week after that. 14-7, USC has the lead.
Yes, indeed, Gary. He did get picked on that play. Second down now as Kyle Orton, standing on the 19-yard line, fires on the slant for the first down. And so they throw for a first down here. John Standiford. And for Purdue, that's their first down of this game, folks. There they are. 3 3-and-outs. And now they convert. And they've got their first down. Orton on the game is 3 of 8. And maybe things are loosening up a little bit here, Gary.
Yeah, 3 of 8, but he's had 3 drop balls. I don't think Kyle's too upset with himself so far. I think he gets to go to the East-West passing game and try to loosen up that Michigan defense.
Standiford did not have much daylight. The Michigan defenders all over him, doing a pretty good job blocking this 3-man front here right now, however. And Charles Davis, the big tight end with that reception. And Jack, what about the curse in Coach Tiller here?
Brent, if you're a Red Sox fan or a Cubs fan, you can take solace with the Purdue curse. Back in 1966, it was Bob Greasy who brought home the bacon, both on his toe and on his arm. but ever since then, they've been winless. I'll tell you, I can relate as a Red Sox fan.
And, you know, Jack, the key to that game was Bob Griese's foot and not his arm. And I'll tell you that story here in a moment. Second down, and Orton from the pocket throws a slant. They get another first down. He's finally found Standiford. Now the two quarterbacks. This is the list of quarterbacks who have lost it. We'll skip that second name. Phipps, Herman, Campbell, Everett, Hunter, Trutzker, Breeze, Hance all went down. And Gary, you had a pretty good football team in 1972.
Yes, we did. It's one of the toughest losses I've ever been a part of. Coming in here, we could have gone to the Rose Bowl if we won it.
He had a nice barber down at West Lafayette. Did you tip him a lot for that?
It's amazing. My wife, don't show that to my wife and kids. Jeez, oh boy.
First down and 10 now. Purdue showing a little life here. Running to the 49. That's Brandon Jones who's on the field. So let me go back because I went through the play-by-play on the Bob Griese game. Purdue's first punt here in 1966 was blocked. Griese was not the punter. He then became the punter as well as the quarterback, and he kicked the extra points in that game. They were tied going to the last quarter. Griese put a punt inside the 5-yard line that was fielded by Michigan. The return man dipped into the end zone, was tackled there for what turned out to be the difference, the 2-point safety. So Bob Griese's foot, the last winner for Purdue here in the Big House. Orton standing tall, fires high. Williams was very well covered, and it incomplete that time.
Brent, first time Purdue went with 5 wide receivers in the football game. They've been doing it empty with a tight end, but that time they brought on Ingram, the freshman, the Stork, the 6'9" freshman receiver. It's the first time they've used all 5 guys. See Joe Tiller, he's going to say, let me go back to my roots here. I like to throw the ball, and I think we're going to have to throw the ball to beat Michigan.
What's interesting is that Willis Behringer is holding up. He's the lone safety back there, replacing Marlon Jackson. What a day he's having. He's coming to blitz now. Didn't time it, and Orton comes up and calls the timeout as 19 talked him into a timeout that time as he came hard to the line of scrimmage. Man, what a game that youngster's playing, huh? Timeout.
Allstate presents Good Hands Flashback. In 1997, undefeated Nebraska trailed Missouri 38-31 with 7 seconds remaining.
Cross to the middle, juggle, diving, touchdown Nebraska. Davison on the deflection.
Matt Davidson's miracle reception on 4th down propelled Nebraska to an unlikely overtime win and a share of the national championship.
Behringer does a nice job right here because he watched Kyle Orton's foot. He doesn't move until after Orton moves his silent count, and that's why Orton have to take a timeout. Michigan is holding their defense and disguising until the Purdue quarterback uses the silent count with his foot.
They've got Leon Hall, a freshman, matched against Ray Williams. The problem is Kyle Orton can't find enough time. He's 0 for 4 on 3rd down here today. Coming left sideline and incomplete. It'll be 4th down. Standiford was well covered by Marcus Curry, the junior from Detroit. Well, now it's time for our Aflac trivia question. The Big House here in Michigan led the NCAA in average attendance 28 of the last 29 years. Who interrupted their streak here? Another crowd in excess of 100,000 on hand here today for the Big Ten showdown, and now it is 4th down. Preston trying to do it again as the return man. This one hung high. Preston going to let it go for the end zone. It'll come out on the 20-yard line. We'll take a break. The Wolverines of Michigan, 2-touchdown lead in Ann Arbor. The ABC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by Chevy Silverado. It's the right truck. Pacific Life offering insurance, annuities, and investments. And Sprint proudly offering picture mail and PCS Vision picture phones. Michigan up a couple of scores here with a first down coming out from the 20-yard line behind the 5th-year senior John Navarre, who on the day is 6 of 11 for 72 yards. This Berry is running back. Cut back. Picked up a couple. And the Trojans seem to be rolling, so let's check in again with John.
Brent, exactly. They gave up the first 7 in the game, but score the next 20. Lundale White goes 21 yards on this great run out of a tackle there. Point after was blocked, but a 20-7 lead USC over Washington. Meanwhile, in this one, great game in the MAC. Northern Illinois trying to remain unbeaten, trailing Bowling Green.
Bowling Green favored in that game at home, which shows you just how good they are. Screen deflected, incomplete. A break as coming in was Sean Phillips, number 15, deflected that pass. Purdue, for a moment, thought they might come up with a huge break on a deflected interception, but it was not to be, and it'll be 3rd down and 8 coming up for Navarre.
One of the must-stop plays that Purdue went into this football game saying they had to stop was the screen pass to Chris Perry. That time Purdue was in man coverage, and Landon Johnson was all over Chris Perry, even if the ball had gotten through.
Tyler Ecker in as a tight end. He's number 89. He's been coming along from Michigan, too. He's on the right side of the formation. Navarre comes back out the other way. First down to the 33-yard line. John Navarre using Steve Bruston as a control receiver that time. Well, Monday night, speaking of Purdue and Michigan, folks, Dolphins Chargers could be Michigan Purdue all over again. Could be, because Brian Griese could be the Dolphins quarterback. We know that Drew Brees of Purdue will be quarterbacking the Chargers, who are desperate for their 2nd win in a row here. And Drew Brees set all the career passing records. Came out of Austin, Texas, recruited by Purdue. The Longhorns did not recruit him. Fake now by Navarre. Sideline pass is complete. And Edwards out of bounds at the 44-yard line. That's going to be very close to another first down down there.
When John Navarre throws on time, he is about as good as you're going to get in the Big Ten, maybe in college football. You must move him off the pitching rubber. That time he dropped back, threw on time. Watch, 10-yard route, Edwards thrown on time, ball's on its way, perfect throw. Braylon Edwards drops the ball out of bounds, but it was caught.
As you watch this offense move down the field against Purdue, your thoughts turn to Edwards, Avant, and Bruston. As good as it gets, and then they pound back with the run. Kudamides makes the play. Well, our Pacific Life game summary, and talking about Navarre, he hit Edwards over the middle for that touchdown. Bruston on a slick cutback inside the 10-yard line with a second score. And then Shazer in with the sack on Kyle Orton, who's had a tough time of it, not getting much time at all against this Jim Herman coached Michigan defense. The Wolverines are dominating. You can see our total yards. The Purdue offense, the wide open, the basketball on grass, has been held to 37 yards so far. Edwards comes in motion now on 2nd down behind Navarre. And they will run close to a first down. Chris Perry. Landon Johnson, another stop.
Good job inside with that Michigan offensive line against Craig Terrell, number 92. The big nose tackle for the Purdue Boilermakers. This is the defense. Watch it right here. Get a big double team on Terrell inside. That allows it. 2 guys pushing back. They leave the linebackers free. Kudavides takes it on, but you can see the rub out. And Chris Perry very patient on the run.
Now the offensive line of Stenovich, Bass, Pearson, Lentz, and Pape doing an excellent job here. Keeping Navarre clean. Ball at the 45-yard line. And the big three are on the field again for Navarre. Edwards slipped. They're going to set the screen incomplete. Chris Perry, the intended receiver. Well, a few moments ago we asked you the Aflac trivia question. What school interrupted Michigan's streak of highest average per game attendance? Some of you knew the answer. Those rascals put in some extra seats back in 1997. Those Volunteers down in Knoxville did it. And then Michigan expanded, and they've had the record ever since.
And Michigan had to lower the field 6 feet to do it, but they added some seats. They dug down, and they said, well, we'll put another few more rows down low.
2nd down and 10. Take that, Smokey. Navarre straight back. Sacked. at the 42-yard line by Brandon Villarreal out of Allen, Texas. He's the long snapper and a defensive lineman for Tiller's Purdue team. Kind of an unusual combination.
Yeah, Purdue does not blitz a lot. Villarreal that time beat the inside center and guard Pearson that time and got the sack, giving a blow to the starters. Villarreal comes in there and gets a big sack to the Purdue team. They can't give up any more points, especially on this drive. Purdue's going to come in with 3 defensive ends. Ray Edwards, a true freshman, number 10, will come in the game as a rush specialist along with Farrell, Dante Farrell. There's Ray Edwards.
Third down now. Navarre stands tall. Left set Avant in a battle, incomplete. And Avant was in front of the football as he went up with Reeves for the jump ball. And he sort of misjudged where that pass was going to land. When he turned around over there, the ball went up another 7 yards down the field.
Brennan, as good as Breaston, and we know Braylon Edwards is, the coaches rave about Avant. Does everything, all the dirty work for this football team. Blocking, the right patterns, possession, receiver, those 3 guys, what a trio.
Adam Finley back. Who came after that one, but he did get it off. There's a penalty flag. There's a penalty flag thrown back where the punter was. So hold on here. If it's a 5-yarder, not even close to a first down, obviously. It was 4th and 18 on that play.
Such a bad punt, though. I would assume Michigan would try to take it over, punt it over again.
Running into the kicker on a defense. It's going to be a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Repeat 4th down. Clock will start on the snap.
Adam Finley will be back on the field.
It was only about, 25, maybe 30-yard max punt, so Finley give it another try. Finley just falls over the rush man at the end. Good call, 5-yarder. Got to give him room to come down. You can see it. Just trips over the Purdue player, 5-yard penalty.
Chambers positioned inside the 10-yard line. And Michigan offside on the play. One of the gunners.
Ball start. Offense. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. Still 4th down.
Yeah, the gunner on the right side jumped the snap count. That was Shazer, the safety, who's getting downfield for him. Trying to get in so that Chambers doesn't ignite a rally here. Purdue just a couple of big plays away, but so far their offense has really been throttled. 37 total yards, 5 run, 32 pass. This time they content to set a return. The punt is hung beautifully. Chambers gambles, gets a yard out of that gamble. That was very dangerous. Out to the 11-yard line now for Orton and Carl Tabb. The wide receiver, number 17, makes the stop for the Wolverines. 8:14 to go here in the first half. The Big House, Ann Arbor, Michigan. The Wolverines 14 and Purdue unbeaten in the conference. Scoreless here so far. They've been dominated by this Michigan defense, and the Wolverines showing one different look after another. 4 down linemen, 3 down linemen, 6 defensive backs, 4 defensive backs. Now Purdue in a more conventional offense. They don't spread the field. And Orton steps away from pressure, going to take off and make it to the 20, dives for that first down marker. And going to be very close. And, as Gary has said, Purdue's going to still have to put this ball up. And he was asked, Joe Tiller was, why he likes throwing the football.
I enjoy entertaining football. I like throwing the football. I like that mostly because my wife likes it because she can see the ball. She can't see the handoff, but she can see the pass. So I would prefer to throw the football for many reasons.
First down and 10.
Well, he's proved to this league you can throw the ball and play good defense.
Void toss play left. Look at the maize and blue, and he runs away from it. Out of bounds at the 27, and not crisp tackling on that play as Michigan penetrated, but they could not come up with the stop on Void, who slipped past 2 defenders And nice gain on the play. That's one of the better running plays they come up with.
I thought Carl Diggs, number 43, middle linebacker, had a shot on Boyd. He just misjudged it right there. You can see just laid out a little too low, long, late that time, and Boyd gets the corner for another positive play. A quarterback scramble and a sweep for Purdue.
7-yard gain for the Boilers. 2nd down and 3. Plenty of time left here in the first half, and there was movement on the left side of the offensive line that time. Matt Turner appeared to move.
Offense.
Let's check in now with Jack Arute.
Go second down.
Well, Brent, early in the season, the coaches said that Kyle Orton was a bit too conservative. But all that changed a week ago in that 26-23 win over Wisconsin. Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator, told me that it was the first time that he felt that he and Kyle were on exactly the same page. He kind of calls it now Kyle Orton Unleashed.
They're looking for that page here today, too, Jack. They haven't found it yet in this game.
Yeah, and on 55 throws, the coach said he threw to the right guy 50 times. That's pretty good. 2nd
down and 8. Deflected incomplete, and here today he's 5 of 13.
Let's take a look at these two quarterbacks. Kyle Orton, John Navarre. Arm strength, two big, strong guys. Navarre, a little bit older. Let's give him the touch right there. Touch passing, Kyle Orton does more of it, better. Mobility, Orton much more mobile than John Navarre, but experience kind of goes out of a tie him. How that? The quarterback gives him a tie.
So far, edge Navarre on my standpoint because of the weapons.
Well, we didn't have that down there, though.
Down. I just thought, man, I don't know what happened to weapons. I saw weapons yesterday. 3rd down and 9. Here's Orton. Receivers are covered, and he'll take off. No. Now in trouble, deep trouble. Down at the 11-yard line. Reed there. Got to throw that one away, Gary.
Sure does, but you said it. Receivers covered. I don't know if Purdue is used to this. You talk about the talent that Michigan has. It might be coming forth more in the defensive backfield because there are guys covered all over the field. Man underneath, playing a little in and out right there inside, and everyone, look at that. Blue jersey next to a white jersey all over the field. Kyle needs to throw it away.
Nobody separating, and so Slayton standing on the goal line, set to punt it again here. Michigan due to get excellent field position, maybe better than that with Bruston back. Here comes Steve. Right side, looking for the left. And just short of midfield that time. That's where they'll put it in play as Schweigert comes down, makes the stop on the Wonderkind. Timeout. Welcome back to the BCS Spotlight game presented by ADT. The Boilermakers ranked in the top 10 in the BCS rankings this week. They trailed the Wolverines 14-0 here. 6:50 to go in the first half. Navarre hands off to Perry, who's gone the distance as the Wolverine running back, loses a yard. Craig Terrell out of Lebanon, Indiana, makes the stop.
Well, you can see that Purdue defense, when Michigan comes on the field with their run team, there were 3 tight ends on the field that time for Michigan, and Purdue just put 9 men in the box. Looks like the Michigan offense works a little better when you have the 3 wide receivers in. Purdue has much more trouble stopping.
This is a new artificial surface field here put in this season for Michigan, and Harry is not rubbing mud away, folks. They use ground up rubber to make this surface, and that's what he was wiping away. The moisture, of course, it absorbed, but so far what's been impressive is the footing has been as good as it has for both teams here. Navarre on the throw has got Avant, and he's got about a 5-yard gain, driven out of bounds by Landon Johnson from Lubbock, Texas.
Very good throw by John Navarre that time. He had late pressure. He could feel it as it coming at his legs as he let the ball go, and he had a long throw. Avant wide, safe pass, gets him in 3rd and medium for a possible first down. Purdue's going to bring on their rush, 3 defensive ends. Ray Edwards is on the field, number 10.
Massaquoi on the field for the Wolverines in this 3rd and 5 situation. He's the receiving tight end. Coming in motion. Now Navarre looks for the middle. Juggled, incomplete, and dropped by Edwards. So it'll be 4th down.
Well, we were tracking these receiving groups, Purdue versus Michigan. You can see the advantage. The 3 big guys, as Brent said, the weapons have been utilized by Michigan better so far in this football game. as the Michigan defensive backs are making a real run at being the heroes of this game so far.
Purdue unable to come up with a big play. Adam Finley hunting Chambers, the return man. Chambers going to let it go into the end zone. It'll come out on the 20-yard line. Well, here is our singular wireless poll. Which national championship games do you want to see? Log on to ESPN.com, search Singular, make your vote, or Singular users text message to 222. We'll update you with poll results in the second half. Oklahoma and Miami right now ranked 1-2. Florida State, Georgia, Ohio State, USC, all those teams with one loss, hoping that one of the big two loses, because if they don't, it won't make any difference who you vote for. It'll be Oklahoma and Miami. First down and 10. Bringing the end around with Ray Williams, and he is stoned at the 15-yard line. Reed is right there. So the road to the Sugar Bowl, where the national championship will be played on a Sunday night on January 4th, the Nokia Sugar Bowl. You'll see Oklahoma and Miami. They're in control of the destiny. Tough schedule ahead from Miami, we should point out. Vatech, they'll take a big drop this week. So Georgia, Florida State, Ohio State, USC, Purdue in trouble here, and Washington State all attempting to move up. And Northern Illinois in danger of losing for the first time at Bowling Green, and that would eliminate them from major bowl competition. Orton is back, gets protection. And Stubblefield to the 23-yard line. It'll be third down. Marcus Curry is there on the receiver.
You can tell the Michigan defensive backs are doing a great job, because when the Purdue receivers catch the ball, they're tackled within a yard of the catch. No yards after catch for any of the Purdue receivers. Michigan's speed so far in the secondary is the difference. That's why I believe Purdue needs to throw the ball more, because they're not going to get a lot of big plays against this defense.
Well, we asked Jim Herman yesterday who they were going to put on the slot receiver, and the man he's kept there almost all game, he didn't tell us. Jeremy LeSueur is camped out on a slot man, and he's done a superb job. Third down, Orton trying to run away from Shazer, and Stevens fires low, and the catch is short of the first down. The catch made by Kyle Ingraham, the Stork, the 6'9" player, and the reach. Able to pull it in against the secondary, but it's short of the first down. They'll have to punt.
Brent, Purdue had a fake play on. Anthony Chambers was going to go long. Watch the Purdue receivers. They just run nothing, and they had Chambers deep for a touchdown, matched up against a linebacker. Couldn't get it off.
Run Slayton. Back to punt. 3:13. Purdue with only 3 first downs, and Steve Bruston waiting to come again. This is low and returnable. High bounce. Preston's got it 35 up the middle and down at the 40-yard line, as Purdue with good coverage on him the last 2 times. Coming up now, the Capital One halftime show. John Terry and Craig. Highlights and analysis of the day's biggest game. Dandy game between Boston College and Notre Dame. Unfolding in BC today. You don't want to miss highlights of that game. And, of course, all the scores. Last time that Gary and I were here, the Irish got thumped by the Wolverines. We thought Michigan would be in a drive to that Nokia Sugar Bowl. They then went out to Oregon and embarrassed themselves. Subsequently, they've lost a game to Iowa that everyone who's seen the tape thinks they should have won. Special teams broke down, and so it's a 2-loss Michigan team, but still very much in the chase for the Rose Bowl. Actually in control of the destiny. Navarre back deep. Has the pocket high to Avan. It was double teamed and incomplete that time. Second down and 10.
Yeah, that's something that Michigan does that Purdue Brock's back is right on. They like to run a lot of 2-man pass routes with their wide receivers. That time Rodgers and Pollard had him bracketed. John Navarre had no one to throw the ball to inside out. He was lucky he didn't get it picked off.
Well, Lloyd Carr will attempt to keep Michigan fired up for this game. They were certainly ready for the start of it. Teams sometimes flatten out at halftime. They have totally dominated Purdue in this first half. A disappointing performance, I'm sure, for the Purdue coaches. And Perry is jammed, and it will be third and long. Purdue wants one more shot, at least. One more shot in an effort to get something going here. At the end of the game, we'll select a Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. This is a good senior-laden Purdue football team, but their offense has been held to 52 yards. And Joe cannot be satisfied with what he has seen here so far from the offensive side of the ball. Now, if he gets a stop here on this 3rd and 8, Orton and the Boilermakers will get another shot at it.
3-man rush, never been shown until this game again by Purdue.
Here's Navarre stepping away from trouble. Can he get to the first down? Got it. And there's a penalty flag, so hold on.
And you can see Craig Terrell right there. 92 said I was held. I don't know if anybody else was and who it was on, but take that baby back.
So break for the Boilermakers as Navarre had scrambled. But who knows, the holding might have allowed him to do just that.
Well, you know, you mentioned the experience on that Purdue defense. 5 of the defensive starters were starters in the Rose Bowl team for this Michigan team, for this Purdue team, when they went there with Drew Brees. So a lot of experience, 4-year starters, 5 of them. Right here, Pearson inside. Let's see if that's the call. Two guys. Navarre breaks out, and when the spin move, there it is, that hand right on the V-neck. That's called by the umpire right there, staring at it.
3rd down and long for Navarre. Hit fumble. Purdue's got it inside the 30-yard line. And the speed rusher, Sean Phillips, coming in on the hit. And he also recovered it. So Sean Phillips comes up with the biggest play of this football game so far for the Boilermakers. What a great performance by number 15.
I'm really surprised Michigan's throwing the ball here. 3-man rush, 3rd and very long with 2 minutes to go. Michigan, I don't believe they felt they could drive the length of the field. What are they doing? And they're going to pay the price for it.
Perhaps. So far their defense has been able to stand tall at the 28-yard line. Orton dashes out with 5 wide, forcing Michigan now to cover sideline to sideline. 3 rushmen. Orton steps away. He's going to take off. First down, 10, out of bounds around the 5-yard line. Willis Behringer, the safety, pushing him out. So the Phillips play defensively has given the Boilermakers a chance to climb right back in this game. It's 1st and goal.
The difference from Kyle Orton this year than the last 2 years, he's doing a little what Drew Brees used to do for this Purdue offense. When he gets pressure, he's running the ball. He had 22 carries against Wisconsin. Yes, 7 of them were sacks, but he scrambled, and you can see he's now a weapon.
Now Orton going to take off and be sacked. Got to hold on to that football. He was holding it out away from his body. Grant Bowman was in on him along with Scott McClintock.
Kyle Orton, and I know it's tough. I've been down there. Believe me, you got to have that mental clock going. Hung on to it a little bit too long that time, and he's lucky Bowman didn't strip it.
Play comes in from Tiller's sideline. 2nd down and goal. Minute to go here. 2 timeouts left for Purdue. The running back is Boyd. Orton on the move right. Looks got a receiver open. Didn't see him. Now he takes off. Now fires. Intercepted in the end zone. So Kyle Orton makes the critical mistake, and Leon Hall, the freshman defensive back, picks it off in the end zone. Orton had a man open at the back of the end zone before he took off. But on the scramble, instead of throwing it away, he throws it to the end zone, into the arms of Mason Blue.
You can see Michigan does a nice job just blanking. They're going to just play right across the field, only rushing 3 on the play. Orton comes at the end of the play. You'll see when he comes out, right back there is where it's going to open up. Watch this. When he lets the ball go, he gets hit. There's a guy right here. It's going to be right by the pylon right there. And as he lets it go, he throws it too low, and that's what happens. Right back there. If he lobs it, he's got it. Throws it too low right in the hands of Leon Hall. Purdue was inside Wisconsin's first and goal 3 times and ended up with field goals last week, and they don't score when they got it first and goal here against Michigan.
So there's the run the clock out formation for the Wolverines inside the 5-yard line. Lloyd Carr obviously not wanting to take any chances down here against his defense. Very content to take a 14-0 lead into the locker room at the intermission. So Joe Tiller's team had a chance, and it got away on the interception. A golden opportunity in the closing minute of the first half. Time will run out now. We won't even have another snap. The officials are headed off the field. And we'll return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The Capital One Halftime Show, brought to you by Capital One. What's in your wallet? From Times Square in New York, John Saunders, Terry Bowden, and Craig James.
And welcome once again to the Capital One Halftime Show from here at Times Square Stadium. When you talk about the Michigan Wolverines facing Purdue, and you talk about it happening in the Big House, you talk about Purdue going home unhappy all the way back to 1966, the last time they got a win there. John Navarre, 14 yards to Braylon Edwards.
He's the difference. Before in pregame, hey, balance must be there because Purdue has a good defense. They did it with the pass, they did it with the reverse, and they got him off balance.
And it was supposed to be about Michigan's offense versus Purdue's defense. Purdue's offense can't do a thing. 70 yards of offense to Purdue. It's Michigan's defense that's the story today.
Some of you are watching that game, so you saw it late in the half. Purdue with a chance to punch it across, and they get the big pick at the goal line. And you see right now, John Navarre almost at 100 yards. Wake Forest facing Florida State. Last year, Wake Forest jumped out in front, big in front of Florida State. But not this time. Leon Washington, they were down, but he takes this one 65 yards, the punt return for a touchdown.
He had a bad elbow. He's come back to play. This guy's a difference maker for the Seminoles.
And Florida State came out ready to play. You got to play with great vision on defense. Wake Forest uses mixed directions, traps, and options. You got to play with your eyes. They're doing a great job of stopping Wake Forest's run.
And by the way, Penn State has already lost today, so your dad would pass Joe Paterno with a win in this game.
Oh, I'm so happy. So happy.
Try not to cry here on the set. USC against Washington. Pete Carroll ready to go, says we got one loss. We're back in the hunt. Cody Pickett picked off by Ronald Dunn, returns at 57 yards. Pickett was all over his fans last week. They'll be on him this week.
And this is why I didn't think they'd have a chance to win this game. They just don't play consistent football in Washington. They've got the talent, but they're not consistent.
I love the way Pete Carroll uses his strengths, a defensive coach, to run the defense, turns his offense over to Norm Chow. They're great on both sides of the ball.
Matt Leinart with a touchdown pass in the game. Georgia sleepwalking for the second consecutive week. Last week against Vanderbilt, they trailed at halftime. Against UAB, they win this one 16-13.
I know it's ugly, but you know what? They better be careful. Other one-loss teams jumping over them and jumping higher up in the polls. They better be careful. They got Florida next week, but they better not look so bad they drop in the polls.
I know you don't keep many notes, but let me tell you this.
I got a big stack of notes. I got a big stack.
Florida State would be that kind of team that would jump over them to number 3 if they look impressive.
Georgia still has Florida and Auburn, so that strength is scheduled, but you got to win those games. Northern Illinois against Bowling Green, the marquee matchup in the MAC. And Pope takes it in from 3 yards out. Bowling Green trying to add to that lead. Josh Harris, 31 yards to James Hawkins. And Northern Illinois might be bounced from the ranks of the unbeaten.
Well, you know, there'll be one less team we have to talk about being undefeated.
They've come from behind 6 out of 7 times, but 24-3, a little bit too much, I think.
All the BCS people are hoping Northern Illinois loses because they don't want to have to explain why they can't get into the hunt. New Mexico and Utah. This one has gone to halftime. And New Mexico with a 16-14 lead.
Critical here out in the Mountain West. Utah undefeated in conference play. Colorado State is the best team out there right now, the hottest team, so this will really bunch them all up.
Yeah, Utah's given up over 300 yards of offense already to New Mexico.
And that number 16 ranking is in the BCS standings as well, so the polls think a lot of that Utah team. Oklahoma State against Texas A&M. And George Bush Sr. on hand. And Secret Service all over the place. Tatum Bell, 40 yards. He doesn't need any Secret Service.
Yeah, you know, they need to put the Secret Service in the Aggies' defensive huddle, man. That's it. The Aggies just, they get down, they make a mistake, bunch of bonehead plays, and not looking good at all.
Oklahoma State, though, they're the new guns in town. The Cowpokes can score points, 42 points a game. They have enough talent to beat everybody. And Oklahoma next week, they beat them twice already.
You know, Oklahoma's probably a little nervous about that one. Tennessee facing Alabama. Mark Jones calls for the fair catch, but his own teammate runs into him and he fumbles the ball. Roberto McBride comes up with it, and it's a turnover. 7 plays later, Alabama knocks through a field goal. This has been a field goal game, tied at 3 apiece.
And Alabama got down when it was 3-0. They're at goal line, 1st and goal, and they could not punch it in. Tennessee's defense reared its head up.
Yeah, Tennessee fans are really grumbling this year. They were supposed to have a great year. If they don't win this thing, boy, Phil Fulmer, they're going to be after him pretty hard.
He has never lost 3 games in a row at Tennessee. If he loses this one, that would be the case. Updating USC and Washington, Cody Pickett has now come back with a touchdown pass, so they have pulled to within 6, 20-14 the score there.
And Cody Pickett was supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks in America. He's starting to get hot. You know, if Washington, if they can get him going with Reggie Williams, man, watch out, because they can definitely score a bunch of points.
Yeah, but this game's critical to USC. They've got a great chance with their schedule. Many people, their total schedule, maybe one of the toughest. They can jump over if they keep winning, get that spot if one of the undefeateds lose.
A lot of people were surprised that they were ranked as low as number 7 in the original BCS poll. This is the Capital One Halftime Show. And welcome to Times Square and Times Square Stadium here in New York City for the Capital One Halftime Show. John Saunders, Terry Bowden, and Craig James as we get you into the highlights. One thing that's been consistent, when Iowa State goes into Nebraska, they get pasted, giving up 48 points on average over the last 5 trips. This one's a block punt. Josh Bullock returns it for a touchdown.
It used to be a helmet game, and it's still a helmet game. Nebraska just show up, you're going to whip up on Iowa State.
An easy victory for them. Ohio State against Indiana. Jim Tressel talking to his quarterback, Craig Crendel, who's been injured a couple of times. Lydell Ross, they found the running game today.
They sure did, but medicine for an ailing offense is Indiana. They got it back with passing and running today.
And then backup quarterback Scott McMullen goes 47 yards to Santonio Holmes.
Yeah, you know what? It's an all-out offensive showing today, and it might open them up. You know, you have to be successful. Maybe they get it going down the back stretch.
They had no offense this season until today. Penn State against Iowa. The mascot is out there with the flag and ready to go. Penn State's punter has it blocked by Chad Greenway. Roberts returns it, 26 yards for a touchdown. Iowa is on top of Joe Paterno, just frustration.
Well, they do so many little things wrong. Right now, the frustration, block punts, missed passes, drop balls, little things like that cost them football games.
Wisconsin against Northwestern, for some reason they struggle every year. Noah Herron, 21 yards, takes this deep inside the 5 on the trick play, and a couple of plays later, Jason Wright takes it in from the yard out.
You know, that trick play was 4th down and 6. You know what? That's guts, man. You got to do it. If you want to win and upset somebody, get after it.
Minnesota against Illinois. Assad Abdul Khalik fakes one way, goes to the other, and goes long to Aaron Hosack for a touchdown, wide open.
This Minnesota team's for real. I think Glenn Mason ought to float that resume around a little bit, maybe some brighter skies.
Semi for real. Come on now. They're still not the top echelon of the Big Ten.
585 yards, probably as explosive offense as in the Big Ten.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Nebraska. This is a team that cannot throw the football, one-dimensional, but you still like them and the schedule.
And I like that. The fact they can't run the football or throw the football, go run it. You know what? That's what they do well in Nebraska. They have turnovers on their special teams. They go out and play great defense and run the football. And in 54 carries today, that's how they can become a contender to challenge in the Big 12 against Oklahoma.
And the Ohio State Buckeyes, again, a team, they have that one loss to Wisconsin, but their schedule favors them.
That's right. They're getting better. They've got Purdue, Michigan State, the 2 undefeateds as of right now in the conference, still playing, and they've got Michigan in it. They control their destiny in the Big Ten.
Your dark horse Purdue.
No, they're losing. They're losing. I know.
Stay at it, guys. This is the Capital One Halftime Show.
And folks, for Purdue, it continues to be a haunted big house here in Ann Arbor. Down a couple of touchdowns. So far, the Boilermakers unable to convert 1 3rd down. As we take a look at our Pacific Live game summary, first half statistics, Gary, they are 0 for 7. They let a great opportunity get away from them. But yet, you know, they can come back with a passing game and do something.
14-0. I think Purdue's defense is playing about as well as you could be expected
Sure.
against these weapons. And, you know, Brent, you know, going with the theme, it's not a lot of ghosts or any haunted things. There's great players Michigan has. And right now, their athletes are crowding Purdue's receivers. I think they need to throw the ball more. They're not going to get a lot of big plays with these great athletes on Michigan, and so far they're controlling the game.
Obviously, Gary doesn't believe in curses like I do, having lived in
I
Chicago.
started the curse.
Well, here we go with the second half. Michigan, remember, won the toss and deferred, so they will handle the ball as we see our two quarterbacks, Big John DeMar, 6'6", and 6'4" junior Kyle Orton. I'm sure the young man from Altoona, Iowa, still worrying. The leading rusher in our game has been Chris Perry, Wolverines, 13 carries, 44 yards. His mom in the press box watching is a good story. And just as soon as we see this return by Bracken, who is down at the 18-yard line, we'll send you to Jack and Mother Perry.
Right, you told the story a couple of weeks ago about Mrs. Perry moving up here to open Ann Arbor Magazine. And Ms. Perry, when your son set all those records in that outstanding Notre Dame game, it was the first game you missed. Why?
I was in the hospital. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and my blood level went down to an unbelievable level, and so they admitted me in the hospital that Friday night.
You talked about such a long journey. We're going to talk about that in a moment.
So we'll come right back to Jack here. First down, and certainly we hope that Mrs. Perry is recovering well. And fumble, and Purdue's got it, still loose, and Michigan recovers. So instead of falling on the football for another opportunity, they try to make something happen, and David Boss saves the day for the Wolverines. Oh, Gary, that's letting another one get away.
Well, you really can't blame Purdue for picking that up and trying to score. Kudavides, I think, is the guy who ended up with the ball, number 34. Big hit on Perry. Let's see who gets the hit. Kudavides is one of them, and I think it's number, I'm not sure if it was number 16, Gilbert Gardner, but watch, he gets the ball and then drops it again. Big play, potentially for Purdue, ends up being a second and long. There's the ball pop loose. Kudavides, I think, scoops it up. Can't hardly blame him on the play, and then fumbles it right back. Brent, you can almost make the argument that possession had changed and it should be 1st and 10 for Michigan.
And here comes Chris again. Back to the original line of scrimmage, and let's go back to Mom with Jackaroo. Jack.
And Brent, those type of fumbles mean little to Chris Perry because of the battle of his mom. And Mom, you're doing really well there. But tell me the story that Chris had to bring the tape of the Notre Dame game to the hospital.
Yeah, so I had my blood level went down to a very unbelievable low level, and I couldn't make the Notre Dame game. And so he brought it to me on Sunday evening because I wasn't here. And then when I saw the tape, I couldn't believe it, the way he was running and what was going on. And so I started crying because I realized some of the things that were being said about him as far as his journey at Michigan, the good times, the bad times. So it was something for me to...
Brent. Well, Jack, there was one of the good times, and certainly from all of us. Wish Irene Perry nothing but the best. We've enjoyed interviewing her son and, of course, watching him not only in that great game against Notre Dame, but here today. He's carried 16 times for 51 yards. He's also caught a pass and
still limping, still nicked. I think it was the first play of the game. That left hand quad has been bothering him.
Finley on 4th down. Now it's Chambers from the 34, slips, and the 44-yard line. Well, how about our out of whack stat here from the first half? And let's take a look at the Purdue receivers, Gary.
Well, they got 30 balls last week against Wisconsin. So far, 5 of them for 31 yards. You expect more out of those guys for the Purdue offense to work. And look at that, 43 passing yards. As you said, basketball on grass has so far thrown up some bricks.
And in the first half, the longest completion was 8 yards. That is so unlike Purdue. And now let's see, with 3 wide, what they can do. Void the running back. Stopped just short of midfield. So the defense really standing tall here as we take a look at how the Wolverines are playing for Jim Herman.
Absolutely. They've been attacking all game, and boy, it brings back memories. I wore that number and didn't do any better, Kyle. I feel for you right now. Quarterback trying to make plays. try to do a little bit too much, but you can see Michigan has not stopped attacking, and a big mistake for Purdue right at the end of the half when it could have been 14-7.
Jimmy Lapatina picks up the flag. No flag on that. Incidentally, his umpire, Percy Munn, one of the best. His crew with Dan Capron, Tom Ranson, Al Terry, Joe Duncan, Jack Lyman.
Excuse me, Brent. 5 wide receivers, second time in the game.
Three rushmen held up. Orton can't find anybody open still, so he's got to take off. Goes for the first down marker, and he is bumped out of bounds right at it as he came across midfield. That was John Shaw, one of the defensive backs. We go in the story that Marlon Jackson, not playing, arguably Michigan's best defensive back. But how about the job? Jeremy LeSueur, Leon Hall, Willis Behringer, Ernest Shazer, Darnell Hood, Marcus Curry, John Shaw. I have called all of their names during this football game. Every one of them has made a play in this game. That's remarkable.
Yeah, they've been out there. They've been using 6 defensive backs almost, every second and long. And now with matching up against Purdue here, as Purdue goes 4 wide receivers, they bring a 3-man line and 6 defensive backs on the field.
We get Williams matched against the freshman who has the interception down here, Leon Hall, and run away with Void and nothing doing. There was no daylight over there as John Shaw, one of the additional defensive backs, stepped up there, and the Purdue blockers are having a very difficult time blocking the right man with the running game against these extra defensive backs.
Well, there's the guy that makes the play right here. The wide receiver must control him on the sweep to the outside. This time Shaw just runs right through the block to the outside. Stubblefield doesn't get it, and that's why the play didn't make.
Now there are 4 receivers, 1 running back for Orton on this second down and 15. And they run a draw play just past the original line of scrimmage. They came across the 45-yard line. Reed, number 42, has been an active tackler for the Wolverines, makes another stop. And this will be 3rd down and the medium distance here. But remember what I told you. The longest completion in the first half for Purdue was only 8 yards.
And 0 for 7. This will be the 8th time on 3rd down. They've had 2 drop balls on 3rd down and only 1 completion short of a first down.
Let me correct that graphic. There's no way that's 3rd and 11. That's about 3rd and 5 or 6. And here is Orton going deep this time. Stubblefield's got it. Stumbles inside the 5-yard line. Taylor Stubblefield out of Yakima, Washington, makes the best offensive play of the game for Purdue. A beautiful catch up a little gimpy, under pressure, not much daylight, great hands that time.
Absolutely. We saw him in warm-ups just catch the ball so casually. You looked like Stubblefield would have a great game. He dropped the first or second pass of the game, but that time Purdue went 4 vertical. The first time on 3rd down they actually threw the ball downfield in this football game.
39 yards on 3rd and 6. But remember, they couldn't punch it in the first half when they had a chance. Void is stuffed, and Carl Diggs, number 43 from Warren, Ohio, the big linebacker.
Sean Phillips, number 15, the defensive end that made the great play at the end of the half, is in at tight end. He has caught a touchdown pass for Purdue this year. You know, not a lot of tight ends on this Purdue offense because of their style.
There is the defensive end. Lining up on the right side as a tight end. 2nd down and goal, and Orton's rolling in that direction. Pump fakes, he's covered, and Orton's down at the 11-yard line. Stevens makes the stop, and they were looking for number 15 that time, and Michigan was extremely aware. They ran with him. That was Roy Manning, I believe, the backer who picked him up, coming out and wouldn't let him go. Just take a look.
That's exactly who it was. Roy Manning did his job, didn't go to sleep. And Purdue thinks that's going to be an easy pitch and catch with number 15, and Manning stopped the play. Stevens made the tackle.
One big defensive play after another here for the Maize and Blue. It has been remarkable. Now the ball's back in the 11-yard line. Tiller's offense looking for a play here with
Here's
5.
the Stork, 6'9" if you want to throw the fade.
He's number 89 off to the left, and Purdue burns a timeout. Talk it over here. Crisis time, down 2 scores. Third down and goal. The Boilermakers just outside of the 10-yard line. With 4 wide, they send the big fella, 6'9", down the bottom on the right-hand side. Looking for that fade, going jump ball. The Stork knocked away, incomplete. The field judge said no interference, and Leon Hall goes jump ball with Kyle Ingraham.
How about this? True freshman against true freshman. Leon Hall, under 6 foot, against 6'9" Ingraham. Ball defensed perfectly by Leon Hall. Got his butt up into the receiver and made it a very tough catch.
Now Purdue attempting to get something going, sets up for a field goal. Ben Jones, Kyle Smith is his holder. 27-yarder. Villarreal puts a snap on the money, and Purdue is on the scoreboard finally. But twice they've had first and goal in this game, and neither time have they been able to score a touchdown. But Joe Tiller is glad to have some points.
One more look at the last play. You see the big 6'9" true freshman against Hall. The true freshman Hall does a nice job of backing up and closing it up, almost like doing a rebound in basketball. Look at Hall get off the ground. Makes Ingraham comes over his shoulder.
Let's remember that Leon Hall from Vista, California, made the interception in the first half. Now he goes jump ball and knocks this one down. And the coaches told us that this freshman was coming along. One of the reasons why Marlon Jackson was moved to safety was to make room for some playing time for this young man who made his first career start for the Wolverines at Minnesota. Came up with 4 tackles in that game and then played on the corner against Illinois. So Hall doing an outstanding job here for the Wolverines, who have several very promising freshman football players on this team.
Don't they always?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, Purdue has to feel some life in the football game, though.
On the board, good kickoff. It'll come out on the 20-yard line for Navarre, and now it is Michigan searching for a drive that eats up some time. And here's a reminder now on ESPN. This will be a good one. The Chiefs are unbeaten. They get the bye next week. They're hosting Buffalo on Sunday night on ESPN, and that's at 8:30 p.m. from Arrowhead in Kansas City. Spoke with Coach Vermeil this week. Still very upbeat, very positive about the team. Said it will really be something if they could get to the break 8-0, but he knows it'll be tough on Sunday night against Buffalo.
The old Miami team starting to take notice yet?
Yeah, the 72 Dolphins,
Yep.
You bet they are. Pulling hard for the Bills. And Avant, first down, spins away, about a 14-yard gain on the play, and a go-to guy, and so here they come.
How about that? That's your number 3 guy here at Michigan, Avant. The coaches just love this guy. Little possession pass that time, did a spin, got into the secondary. One of the guys that Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, said, I wouldn't mind having him on defense when he came here. One of those personalities that could go either way. Too good of a playmaker, had to go to wide receiver.
Perry has been a workhorse. The running back, he's carried 16 times. And now it's 17 times. Burst to daylight. Beautiful run. Out near midfield. As good as it gets for Chris Perry.
Follow the pulling guard. Boss right here comes around, and Perry just follows. The most well-blocked play so far. Follow. Boss just kicks out on Gardner, and there goes Perry slashing up, and that's what the Michigan coaches love. That north-south running that Perry's doing against that really, really good Purdue defense. Only given up 100 yards one time this year, Penn State.
15 more yards for Perry. Stuffed that time. Got back close to the line of scrimmage with Gardner making the stop. Well, you take a look at Perry from Advance, North Carolina. Michigan with a recruiting base that extends clear across the country. Michigan can get entree any place. And at the bottom, they do have 2 starters from Indiana. But notice Purdue with 19 of their 103 players from Texas and 4 starters from here in Michigan, including the right side of their offensive line. So Joe Tiller, when he took over at Purdue, told us that he was going to recruit Texas hard. He thinks there's a lot of talent that could get into Purdue academically. He likes going down there. And Braylon Edwards, a very soft corner that time, and not well played. And Edwards is inside the 30-yard line.
Reeves that time just a two-man route. Look at that space right there. You can tell he's man-to-man because he's inside Braylon Edwards. Two people go out. That's all you'll see from Michigan on this play. One right here, the tight end, two to Braylon Edwards. Look at that inside technique by the corner. Can't get any easier for John Navarre. Pitch and catch and let the good receiver try to make a miss, and Purdue runs it down, but a big play by Michigan.
Edwards now with 60 receiving yards. Avant with 56. Perry twisting and turning for a couple of yards, and Johnson, the leading tackler for the Boilermakers, making still another one here. So Navarre on the day is 11 of 21. Perry has rushed for 68 yards. Navarre has thrown for 135.
Tim Bracken's coming in. Tim Bracken coming in the game. He's worked his way up to be the number 2 tailback here at Michigan. Was the projected starter in 2001, but series of injuries make him work his way back up the ladder around here.
It's out of White Castle, Louisiana. He's a 5'9" senior, wears number 41. Set behind Navarre here on this 2nd and 8. Navarre gets time, got one-on-one, going end zone. Edwards in the air! Oh, what a catch by Braylon Edwards! His 2nd touchdown in the game. He looked like a basketball player as he goes airborne over the corner for a 26-yard scoring strike. A beautiful catch.
Can't cover it any better than this for Purdue. Reeves is right there, right in his pocket. Braylon Edwards finds the ball and then does a good job of timing it, catching it right at the top of the peak right there. Beautiful job. That's why Braylon Edwards is such a special receiver here in Michigan.
So Reeves, Ross Mann is the long snapper. Gutierrez, the holder, and that's next year's quarterback. As we take another look now at Braylon Edwards, he's out of Detroit, a junior. And Jack told you that as of now, he plans to be back next year. A few more catches like this, and the young man might reconsider, folks. This is pretty good. Timeout. ABC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by Cadillac, bold vehicles, defying convention. Aflac, ask about it at work. Miller High Life, to live simply, proudly, boldly, manly. This is the High Life. And Singular, the wireless company that fits you best. All right, now these Wolverine fans are very happy about the team's performance. And the backup quarterback, Matt Gutierrez, there he is. He figures to take over next year as a junior here. Last night we watched his brother on television for De La Salle, that great high school team out of Concord, California. And Gutierrez says, oh, my brother's a big-time prospect just like me. So maybe we'll have another Gutierrez in the Big Ten someday. Gary?
What great technique that happened right at Purdue's drive first. Stubblefield catches the ball, but the Michigan defense responds. One play, 2 plays, remember? And then the jump ball pass, defended perfectly. Michigan comes back, throws the jump ball pass, jump up and catch it. One player making the play, one player doesn't.
Well, Purdue must air it out now. 6:52, down 21-3. Bushong, wearing number 3 as a tight end, over on the left side. And he brings some extra blockers in, tightens up the formation now. This Michigan defense with the 6 defensive backs has ruled the day. And Orton is driven down at the 5-yard line by Ernest Shazer. That's his 2nd sack of the game. The junior from Detroit just rolling in. And, man, these DBs are coming unblocked, Gary.
I'll tell you, there's no one back here. Kyle knows that he's not picked up. This guy is free coming. He can't hold the ball. He knew it. There was no safety right there and just held on to the ball too long. It was not the offensive line, not the tight end, not the receivers. Kyle Orton held too long.
Got to shake and bake someone in the middle of that unoccupied field somehow, huh? This time, Michigan deploys a different look. Shazer's back in deep center field. Purdue runs it. Boyd to the 20-yard line, just beyond the original line of scrimmage. And the stop made by Reed, number 42. Well, time permitting, stay tuned for the Thrifty Car Rental post-game report featuring scores and highlights from across the country. The last time I checked, at halftime, Bowling Green was beating Northern Illinois. That would be the first loss for the Huskies. And we see an injured player. That's Grant Bowman limping off the field. He's the senior defensive lineman for Michigan. They are deep at that spot, fortunately for them in this situation.
Gabe Watson, I think, is going in. One of the young big defensive tackles. He and Larry Harrison are seeing a lot more time. Number 78, right in the middle. Michigan goes with the three-man line again. This is giving Purdue problems.
Because they can't block the stand-up DBs. Third down and long. Fumble! Purdue pounces on it. And saving the day was Tyler Moore, the right guard from Fremont, Michigan. The 6'7" junior after Pierre Woods, number 99, stripped it.
It was basically a three-man rush again. Purdue's offensive line has them signals out, but Pierre Woods gets inside. The running back can't get to him quick enough. Voigt doesn't get there and slaps it free. Could have been a turnover.
Preston driven back to the 35. Alley clogged, and he's down at the 45-yard line. Rogers, the corner, made the stop on Preston, but the Wolverines are dominating. 21-3 timeout. Welcome back to the BCS Spotlight game presented by ADT, a game dominated by the Michigan defense. 6 sacks in this game, and the offense now takes over for the Wolverines, coming out from their own 44-yard line. And Perry back on the field, pushing in, shoveling there, Gary.
Well, that line of scrimmage has been controlled by the Michigan defense, offensive line, and defensive line, but the plays have been made by Michigan specialists. You see Ingram doesn't get it, and then Braylon Edwards from Harper Woods Bishop Gallagher High School, a basketball player who averaged 5 rebounds. Not any better than that one. He grabbed it up high and just stayed with it.
Second down. Bracken, the running back. Gets pressure high, and that time number 1 could not make an easier catch, so go figure. Braylon Edwards makes the toughie in the end zone, and then Jackie lets that one get away from him.
Yeah, but Brent, as you know, there's a heck of a legacy behind the number 1. In fact, Braylon Edwards wanted it when he first came here as a freshman. Lloyd Carr said, "No way, my man, you have to earn it. It means that you're a trusted guy." Well, Braylon is now trusted. He said he got the best of Coach Carr after the bowl game in Florida. He said he was in a good mood. I went to his office. I said, "How about one now?" He said, Lloyd says, "Oh, I guess, all right." And he's making a lot of hay with number 1 this season.
For sure. Third down and 8. Number 1 is off to the right, Preston to the left. Navarre going to go for one this time and out of bounds. So the punting unit comes back on the field here. 3:50 to go in the third quarter, and I would think that the Michigan State coaches are pretty hard at work and thinking now about how they're going to defend numbers 1, 8, and 15, the big 3 of this Michigan receiving core.
I don't think there are any surprises which 3 guys were going to be the playmakers.
Finley. Chambers at the 10. Well covered in the middle that time, and he's out to the 20-yard line. So next weekend, as we mentioned it, remember now at high noon, it's Michigan State and Michigan. Gary and I will be in East Lansing. Nebraska, Texas will also start at the early hour. Then the second game will be Ohio State, Penn State, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Okie State's beaten them twice in a row, and Virginia against North Carolina State of the ACC. So we start at noon, doubleheader next week on ABC, and the disappointing Purdue offense.
Yeah, Brent, Joe Tiller has to challenge that Purdue offensive line to give Kyle Orton some time to throw the ball here.
4 down linemen this time. Play fake. Holding against Stevens, I believe. There's a flag thrown as Williams makes the catch at the 36. But I believe that number 13 of the Wolverines, Stevens, was basically tackled.
He sure was. And he had a clear path to Kyle Orton on that play. Stevens is right there, okay? And he runs right through those two Purdue guys. Actually, it's only one. It's Jeff Bennett, I believe. And then Boyd comes over. Bennett tackles him on the play. Orton completes his ball, does he, at the end of the play? But another penalty. The last two times Purdue played in the Big House, 15 drop balls and 15 penalties back-to-back games.
So it is a haunted house as far as Purdue is concerned. They haven't won here since 1966, 37 long years, and they would have to stage a near miracle against this defense the way they're playing now. First down and forever. Nothing doing as Boyd runs, and I think there was a late fumble on it. They recover it. McClintock in on that play. Number 36 for the Wolverines. One good-looking football player after another on this defense. I am still struck as I watch this game, struck by the fact that Michigan has lost not once, but twice this year.
Brent, I believe they went into a funk when they lost that Oregon game and cost them another loss against Iowa. When they came back against Minnesota, I think they feel they've got second life and they're playing their best football of the year right now.
Second down. Orton will drop in underneath to Davis, the tight end. He's short of the 15-yard line, and it will be 3rd and long as Reed, number 42, makes still another stop.
Boy, great combination of coverage in the secondary, disciplined pass coverage. Last time it was a deep zone. All of the Purdue receivers were in the middle of 2 or 3 defenders, and Kyle Orton had to drop it off to his tight end.
Well, 3rd down and forever, and then it'll be Steve Bruston time, the refreshing young man from Pennsylvania, unless Purdue picks up this first down.
Because of the pass rush, Purdue is keeping a tight end and a back end.
Orton fires high, incomplete, and let's meet. Now they say you got it over there on that side. Let me check myself.
Yeah,
John Standiford, nice play on that sideline.
Best throw of the day for Kyle Orton on this one. Only sent 3 receivers out, and he threw the ball over the top of the zone. Standiford, watch it, zone, gets shoved to the inside. Leon Hall's right there. Now watch this throw right over the zone. High risk, high reward, and Standiford gets that one right there.
Nice play by John Standiford out of Monrovia, Indiana, 6'4" senior, 21-yard gain for Orton. Ball is out at the 36-yard line. Incomplete. They come back with Stubblefield. So the big 2 now starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm here and starting to find some daylight.
Yeah, I think that's the only way Purdue is going to move the ball right here is they have to throw the ball. They have to continue to throw the ball. And it's into the 4th quarter now. They almost have to run a hurry-up offense and keep that Michigan defense getting a little too comfortable with their blitz packages.
2nd down and 1.
5 receivers.
And so 3 down linemen for the Wolverines, and Michigan not showing any pressure on the edges this time. 5 should be able to handle 3. They do, but Orton having trouble finding anybody open, and he throws it away.
Nice job of disguising by the Michigan defense that time. I think Kyle Orton should have gone to the left side of the field. He stuck right, and it was overloaded to the right that time. He could have gone wide side and had a little better matchup. Those decisions so easy up here. Down on the field, that's what that disguising 3-man, 6 defensive back look as they're trying to play with the quarterback's head, and so far it's worked.
Now Michigan shows pressure on 3rd down. Strange call.
Yep. Strange call.
Go wide, stretch it out. Michigan jumped it. Carl Diggs, the linebacker, leading the way.
Well, it was third and less than a yard, maybe a foot and a half is all it was, and you're going to try to outrun that speedy Michigan defense there. That's tough to get around that corner against this Michigan defense.
Coach Leighton Packer has punted 8 times already in this football game, and Steve Preston standing on the Michigan 10-yard line. Angle in for that left sideline, and not a good punt. Man, let's take a closer look at the young man, Steve Preston.
My name is Steve Preston, nickname Stevie D. My favorite professional sports team, Oakland Raiders, because I love Bo Jackson. My favorite class, creative writing. My favorite food, hamburger, french fries, a lot of ketchup.
Another great smile, folks. You're going to be hearing a lot more of him. In our phone conversation with Joe Tiller, he said that he probably wouldn't try to angle punt it, which he has done several times here today, because of just what happened. Virtually a shank, a 21-yard punt. Navarre and Michigan take it over. It's so hard to directional punt for some of these fellas. And here is Perry now with 75 yards on the day. Schweigert makes the stop. And John, the Trojans still rolling, lad, up in Seattle.
Brent, they are here on the Taco Bell update. Facing Washington, Matt Leinart, 60 yards to Reggie Bush. Look at the speed as he just breaks through the secondary. They don't even get close to him. 60 yards in the run. They go for 2-point conversion, no good, 26-17.
All right, and here, John, we've come to the end of the third quarter. 21-3, Michigan. We'll be back with the fourth quarter after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
You're watching college football on ABC Sports Championship Television.
Continues to be a haunted house, as far as Purdue is concerned. Only one field goal to show for this football game here so far as we start the fourth quarter. John Navarre, Perry in the game on a play fake, dumps it. Nassitoy, the tight end, and he's got 11 yards. So starting to spread the ball out here a little bit. 245 yards of offense Michigan, and 148 for Purdue. It's just remarkable to see what's happening.
Well, they've been doing it all. They're a balanced team, and I said in the open, this is the first really balanced offense that Purdue's defense has faced. And you can see what it's like to stop one of these big offenses that Michigan has. It's very, very difficult.
Yes, indeed. And again, the last time Purdue was able to come into Ann Arbor and win the football game, 1966.
Look at that balance, 26-26.
Here's Perry to the 47-yard line.
Well, I got a lot of respect for Chris Perry. We saw him so great against Notre Dame, and I think we're seeing him injured today. Again, first play of the game, he took one right on his left thigh, and I think he's been struggling with it all game. But you know, like, he's a senior. He wants to go to the Rose Bowl, and he's not coming out of the game. I give him a lot of credit.
And again, Michigan could wind up in Pasadena if they win out. They have to go up to East Lansing for a tough one next week against another arch rival, Michigan State.
Yep.
But the Ohio State game this year on November 22nd is here in Ann Arbor. Second down. Perry is stuffed for a loss back at the 48-yard line, and that was Villarreal storming in. And John, what about the Seminoles of Florida State?
Well, Brent, it's all Seminoles because of Chris Ricks. He's having a great day. 10 yards here to Grafonzo Thorpe, who busts his way across the goal line. And a 34-14 lead for Florida State. With a win, they would gain at least a share of the ACC title.
You know, John, if it doesn't rain, he's a pretty good quarterback. That loss came in that driving rainstorm against Miami in that showdown in Tallahassee. Navarre comes to the outside, and he's got Preston, who is pulled down by Reed. Jack?
Well, Brent, while the defense is off for Purdue, there's been a major change with the offense. You see on the arms of all the offensive players, well, it's a list of plays, but the plays have been exchanged now, Brent, for what is called the 2-minute drill. Kyle Orton broke into a big smile when they handed out all of the little plays here on the side of the arm. I think you're going to see some 2-minute drill when they go back on offense.
Well, Stubblefield pedaling away, getting ready. They're about to get it back here right after the Finley punt. Chambers, of course, bluffing fair catch, hoping it goes into the end zone. Michigan's down on it, and a rule, it is down at the 1-yard line. So Orton will have 99 yards of real estate in front of him. Just after the top of the hour, remarkable fans here. A crowd in excess of 111,000. The Big House, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and the Wolverines beating Purdue 21-3. Kyle Orton coming out now with first down. Fumble! Touchdown, Michigan! Curry picks it up and goes in for the score.
Marcus Curry is the guy who gets it. Simple run. Purdue's trying to just get out from under the goal line. Pop loose. Curry picks it up and walks into the end zone. Whew. I'm beginning to believe it is haunted now.
Rivas. Gutierrez with the hold. Watch Curry again on this play. Jones, the running back, trying to run behind the left side. And Curry, beautiful swan dive. Timeout. NBC Sports presentation of college football brought to you by Verizon Wireless. We never stop working for you. Pontiac. Vote for this week's Ultimate Pontiac High Performance Play at ESPN.com/Pontiac. And Coca-Cola. Let's make it real. Michigan making it real here, and Carl Diggs really dug that one out, didn't he, Gary?
He sure did. The captain. Remember, we did the Ohio State game last year where he broke his leg. Came back, one of the 3 captains on this football team, and he was the one. Truck did a nice job going to find you a nice angle of it. He had the hit.
They'll come out on the 20-yard line.
And during the commercial, we found it right there. The captain, the 5th-year senior right there. Watch him come in, sticks his helmet right on the ball. Curry gets it because Diggs' helmet pops that ball loose. That's about as easy a score you're going to get. Pick it up at the half-yard line and walk it in. So a few smiles now. I wonder if they got any more plays on that list, because they're going to need, instead of those little plays, they're going to need some big plays, and I don't know if there's any there against this quick, very, very good Michigan defense.
They'll probably settle in now with the 3-man rush. Watson playing in on the nose. He replaced the injured Bowman. They put Woodley, the freshman, out to the right, and Stevens on the left. Those have been the 3 down linemen for the play.
Prior to the snap, delay a game, offense, 5-yard penalty, previous spot, full first down.
Well, there's a look at the Pontiac high performance drive summary. 1 field goal, a couple of punts, and a fumble for the Boilermakers against this tough Michigan D.
At the end of the half, at the beginning of the half, Purdue had first and goal twice and only got 1 field goal out of it. That turned it, I think, for Purdue to get back in this game.
6 defensive backs. Orton comes into Chambers underneath at the 26-yard line. Stop is made by Shaw, one of the 6. And remember, in case you joined us late and follow Michigan, your best defensive back, Marlon Jackson, has not played in this game today. And Behringer, out of Toledo, a sophomore, has been a very capable replacement. He's back in center field right now as Orton goes back. Chambers again to the 30-yard line, and that would be a first down with Shaw bringing him down again.
You know, interesting, Marlon Jackson's backup, Jacob Stewart, also did not play in this game. So the first and second starting safeties for Michigan are out of the game, and Michigan is still able to go 6 deep in the backfield.
pretty remarkable.
Yes.
And talent at all 6 spots. They called all their names. Incomplete off Chambers' hands, and took a rip from Jeremy LeSueur. Now LeSueur, and this is a big week for him coming up. We want to get in and talk a little bit about this Michigan State game. If you recall, a couple years ago in the great clock controversy game up there, he grabbed Rogers' face mask. Charles Rogers coming off the line of scrimmage. That was a huge penalty in that winning drive by the Spartans, the controversial drive up there, which led to a rule change as to how you govern the clock during a football game.
No more Spartan Bob running the clock anymore. It's legendary here in Michigan, that's for sure.
And we'll visit the scene of the legendary happening next week. Orton taking off at the 45 for a Purdue first down. Well, Alabama, what are they doing here, John?
Well, Brent, facing Tennessee, we told you in the first half it was all field goals. But look at the time that Brody Croyle has to set up. Lofts this one deep, 36 yards for Triandis Luke in the end zone, touchdown. This one's tied at 13.
Good one down there in the SEC. Croyle's battled some injuries underneath Orton. Completes the ball to the 48-yard line. Penalty flag was thrown. There's a holding call going against Purdue.
It was on Kelly Butler, big number 71. Three-man rush again stops the play.
Tomorrow at 8, 7 Central, a new 10-8 for the rookie and his training officer. Every day is a training day. 10-8 officers on duty, part of Sunday's Best ABC tomorrow at 8, 7 Central.
Brent, when you think about it, you say Michigan's using 6 defensive backs. They actually have their 7th and 8th best defensive backs on the field because Marlon Jackson and Jacob Stewart were at least in the top 6 before. It's pretty amazing. Not many teams in college football go 8 deep.
That's for sure. And they continue to rotate. Now they give him a 2 deep look at the snap. Incomplete. Behringer dropped back, and they show 2 deep suddenly at the end. They're changing on the snap. But Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, has done a good job. And he was less than. But I got to talk to Jimmy. Jimmy didn't give us all the secrets. You kept some of the secrets.
Well, he had a Purdue guy in the meeting. What do you want, right?
The Purdue guy's been away from Purdue a long time, Jimmy.
I know.
Gary's not going to give away any of your secrets. Come on, you got to tell the guy what we're going to do out here.
He thought there was still a little boiler blood there. He wanted to make sure.
I kept asking him about Marlon Jackson. He kept saying, ask Lloyd, ask Lloyd, ask Lloyd. Orton's hit again. Backside blitz came free. Jeremy LeSueur coming in, and Purdue's going to get a quarterback killed. I'll tell you what this reminds me of, ladies and gentlemen. This reminds me so very much of Nebraska, Florida in that championship game down in Arizona, where the blitzers are coming off the backside and there is absolutely no protection over there.
Well,
wow.
Actually, I think that's a bust on the offensive line. They should have turned out that tackle and guard both blocked the end man on the line of scrimmage. I think Kyle Orton thought he was protected because he never even looked left. You know what? I got a feeling Michigan's putting in the whole package now for Michigan State because they run the same offense. They're showing everything.
3rd down and 27. Orton cranks it deep for Williams. Incomplete at the 31-yard line. And there's 4 of those DBs back there, including Behringer. Number 19, who was right in the middle of the play, a little gimpy as he gets up. And can they go 9 deep?
I got a feeling.
My question. Perry would probably say, let me take a crack at it.
Next.
High-fiving the DBs.
See Jason Avon out there. Steve Preston could play if he had to.
Too bad we don't have 6 Chevy MVP awards to hand down. Preston will field this one just inside the 25. First tackle at the 29-yard line. The Boilermakers stopped Preston. So they've kept him under control for much of the game. Ten minutes and 3 seconds left here for a very impressive performance by the Wolverines of Michigan. And Purdue in danger now of losing for the first time in conference play, which would leave Michigan State all alone at the top. 4-0 in the Big Ten and facing Michigan next week prior to the snap.
Offense. 5-yard penalty.
The Pac-Life
Go first down.
game summary. Braylon Edwards with a couple of jump balls in the end zone. 1 and 2 touchdowns. Leon Hall, the freshman corner, knocking one down. And then Curry scooping it up and diving in for the touchdown. So if it's not the offense, it's the defense. A pretty solid game here.
Balanced.
By
Balanced
this
team.
Michigan football team. That's what coaches will like this when they look at that tape. First down and 15. But remember the last time we were here, this team couldn't stand prosperity. They went out and got shelled by Oregon. And Michigan State certainly hoping that perhaps they'll come up a little flat next week as we check in with Jack.
Well, Brent, you said this was another one of those 100-plus. Let's give you the Michigan Big House tale of the tape. It's called the Big House. 107,501, the official seating capacity. That one seat, ceremonious for Fritz Chrysler, the developer of the winged helmet and the two-platoon football system. But how about this? 65,000 drinks, 25,000 hot dogs today. And when football comes here to the Big House, it's the 186th largest city in the nation.
25,002, Brent ate 2 today.
Oh, boy. And very good, Jack. Very good, by the way. And still slashing is number 23, who's been a courageous performer here today. He's carried for 82 yards in this football game as Michigan now has run for 91.
You can see it all game.
He's played
with that
He's
thing.
coming out. We may have seen the end of Perry. They've got to get him rested for the Spartans next week, and that may be the end of his workday right there.
Bravo to Chris Perry, though. He fought through this thing the whole game. It didn't come out of the football game, and let's hope for his sake it doesn't bother him and it doesn't last till next week.
Bracken. Perry gave you his story. They're going to throw that quick flip to Avant. Let him go one-on-one, breaks free, comes down the sideline. The young man from Chicago with a burst inside the 30-yard line. How about that, huh?
Interesting play here. This is just between Avant and Navarre. Everybody else thinks it's a running play. Only the quarterback and the wide receiver make eye contact on this play. It was a called running play. The quarterback just sees that Reeves is way off the wide receiver and he just throws it out. 9 people on the field on offense believed it was a running call. Navarre just stands up and throws it for a big play. John Navarre very, very mentally into this football game. He hasn't made a mistake yet.
I believe Butler is on the field as a wide receiver for the first time in this game for Michigan. And Bracken is stuck. You might have chuckled a little bit. I called him Avant. Gary said Avant. So we asked the young man, how do you pronounce his name? He said, I don't care. Just pronounce it.
Throw me the ball.
Okay, whatever you want. The young man was a terrific basketball player. Jack and Root had that story in the first half at Carver High School. And one of the coaches, I believe it was a junior or senior, whatever, talked him into coming out and trying football. And the rest, as they say, is history. He's a full-time football player, and he looks to have a great future in front of him. He's part of the trio of 3 here in Ann Arbor. Braylon Edwards, Jason Avant, and Steve Bruston. And, man, are they dangerous. Navarre wheeling it underneath now to Massacoy, his second catch of the game, and he's inside the 20-yard line. So, as Hank Stram would say, the Wolverines are matriculating down the field here,
They
folks.
sure are. And that time on the little bootleg pass, Tyler Ecker, the other tight end, number 89, was wide open on the play. John Navarre took the safe and easy throw like he should, but the Michigan offense is hitting on all cylinders right now and showing at least the Michigan State defense that they're going to have to defend all 53 yards wide in the whole depth of this offense.
Third down and short.
Perry's back on the field.
That's remarkable. What a courageous performer he's been today. Gets the carry for the first down, bucks in there into traffic, and picked up the first down for the Wolverines. And
it's called being a senior, doesn't it? When you're young.
And the rain's starting to come down now. You can see some raindrops in the shots. That means that some of these folks will probably head for the. But they're great fans, and a lot of them are dressed in their rain gear here in Ann Arbor. A lot of ponchos out there. Some disappointed folks from Purdue heading back home. A lot of them came in here with very, very high hopes after that win in Madison last week. But there'll be other days. Toss play now to Perry with 7 minutes. And joining us now is John L. Smith, who's done a heck of a job up in East Lansing with Michigan State. John L., this is Brent and Gary. Nice to have you with us, my friend. I think you're getting an eyeful of this Michigan team today, huh?
And we're seeing a lot more than we'd like to be seeing right now.
John, what kind of a work week did you have up there? Did you give the youngsters some extra time off because of the bye, or did you work right through it?
No, we needed some time off, Brent, to heal up a little bit, so we took about 3 days off, and then the last couple of days we've been working and trying to get back in the swing of things. Mainly we needed to heal up a lot, so it was some needed time off for our guys.
Here comes Perry. John L., I can't say enough about your quarterback, Jeff Smoker, and how he has come back. I just think that's one of the great feel-good stories in college football. I know when you took the job and went up there, you were probably uncertain as to how the young man would come back, but you and the rest of the staff have to feel so good about that.
Well, we do, and he's a great young man, and he's worked hard to earn his way back to have an opportunity to come back to the football team, and then worked his way back up to a starting position. And of course, he's our leader right now, and he's doing a great job. And with this offense, as you know, we need that one building block, and that's that quarterback.
Here's Navarre now back, going end zone, jump ball out of the end zone and incomplete. Abe held it up, still made the catch out of it. Gary, I know you got some questions for
Coach Gary here. You know what a big game obviously this is, Michigan State. But one thing about Michigan State football players, they don't step back from Michigan. You guys will be ready.
No, we're all pumped up, you know, and our kids, again, even though we've been on a little bit of a roll here, they're excited about what's taking place this year, and they're looking forward to this game. And we're just thankful to be in the position we're in, and we're thankful that they're coming to our house.
Well, here comes Rivas now to attempt the field goal. Again, man the long snapper. Gutierrez is the holder. This would be a 27-yarder. Little frosting. And there it is, 31-3. So, John Allen, how about any other injury situation? Are you coming into this game next week pretty healthy with the Spartans?
You know, I think at this point, Brett, probably without the one defensive lineman, McKinney, that we've been without most of the year, we'll have most of our guys back and ready to go. Yeah.
John L.
So we'll be as healthy as we have been.
John L. Besides
Yes,
Jeff Smoker, what other parts of this team have been a pleasant surprise to you? That defensive line is talked about by coaches around the league as one of the best in the Big Ten.
Right. I think our defensive line, you know, when we put a lot of pressure on those guys, that's one of the places on the team that we have a little bit of depth, that we put some pressure on those guys and said, you guys are going to have to carry us, and you're going to have to carry the load until the secondary comes along and develops and matures. So I think our defensive front has done a tremendous job for us all year long.
John L. Gary has talked a lot about the 6 defensive backs that have been used here by Michigan.
Right.
Have you seen that deployment specifically? I know down at Louisville you had some wide open attacks down there, but are you familiar with what teams try to do with that?
Exactly, and I think, you know, Michigan's done a great job in changing it up. They're not only giving you the 3 down, and forcing you to throw into coverage a lot, then they're changing it up, bringing 4, bringing 5, and sometimes even bringing more than that. And they're getting home when they do bring people, so they're doing a great job of changing it up. I think a credit in this game goes to Michigan's defense.
John, we're looking to 60 minutes and 1 second of great football when we come there next week.
I hope that 1 second's hard there.
John L., thanks for being with us. We look forward to seeing you. You guys and the staff and the players, you've done a heck of a job so far.
Gary, you guys take care. We'll see you later.
All right, Coach.
Bye-bye.
John L. Smith, certainly so far the Coach of the Year in the Big Ten for sure. And they throw now into number 82's hand, John Standiford, one of the go-to receivers here, and getting a little bit chilly here tonight in Ann Arbor, and the sky's darkening as it closes in. Folks, this is football weather, and for Purdue, I suppose they can't wait for this to end. The Thrifty post-game report is coming up next, time permitting, and John, we should have some time for you and Terry and Craig. I know everybody looks forward to all the scores and the highlights from around the country, some great stories. LeSueur making a good play there.
Now remember, Brent, Purdue is not out of this. They had 3 tough road games at Wisconsin, which they won. They're going to lose here, but they still play at Ohio State. So things could still work out, that Purdue could still get back. I think winning 2 out of 3 of those big, tough road games they've had would be a good accomplishment for Joe Tiller's team.
And 5:25 now. Orton is back. And now well short of the first down mark. This will be third down.
Pass is complete.
Now it's time for the mad move of the week. This will be a surprise to Gary Danielson. For the mad move, folks, for the NBA season starting next week. Go Airborne there, number one. He was something on that catch. That's our mad move of the week in this game. That was a heck of a play by Braylon Edwards in the corner of the end zone. And coming down, he had both feet in bounds. Would have been a catch in the NFL.
Yeah, you know, Brent, I've heard Lee Corso say a number of times, sometimes it's X's and O's, and sometimes it's the O's are bigger than the X's. And I think that's one of these games. They are just players on the Michigan team a little superior to the Purdue players.
Yeah, that's a good point, Gary. They certainly have looked at it. Orton is hit again. Diving interception at the 44-yard line. And Hall has done it again as his teammate LeSueur makes the hit. So now Hall with 2 interceptions and going up in the air to deflect one in the end zone. And if that's not an MVP performance, I don't know what is.
LeSueur with the hit, then an EINT from the teammate.
How's that for a freshman corner, folks? Timeout. Kyle Orton, and it's been a tough afternoon on him, man.
You bet.
Whoa, one blind side safety blitzer after another. I mean, 3-4 guys have taken their best shot at him.
Kyle Orton has gained 30 pounds since he's come to Purdue, and he's stocky now and he's strong, and he's needed all 30 of them today to take those hits.
Well, Navarre's got Calvin Bell on the field now. But still carrying the ball is Chris Perry.
Yeah, I think they're going for 100 yards for Chris Perry right here. I said the victory recipe would be whatever one of these teams control the line of scrimmage. There is no doubt Michigan controlled that line of scrimmage today. Complete the gimmies. Purdue started out dropping passes, yards after catch. Purdue couldn't get any catches and runs, and you could see it right there. All of them were determined by Purdue, and Purdue had 3 turnovers. Squeeze the pig. You can't have 3 in the big house.
Second down, and you know, that is Matt Gutierrez in at quarterback now for the Wolverines. Bracken, the ball carrier, of course. Matt, a sophomore out of De La Salle High School in Concord, California. He figures to be the starting quarterback next year. His brother, the quarterback at that high-powered, what have they won, 145 straight games now? That was last night I watched. They beat that team from Louisiana. It was such an impressive performance watching that high school program.
But Brent, they always say the
Toomer played there.
They always say the 146 is the toughest one to win, though. You know that.
Third down, and Navarre talking to the coaches upstairs. And another coach who deserves an awful lot of credit on this Michigan staff is their young defensive secondary coach, Ron English. Timeout. Gutierrez going to come over the sideline, but English is in his first season with the Michigan football program, and what a job he's done with his guys as we take a timeout.
When do we begin shaping the minds that will lead America into the future? When do we lay the groundwork that will allow our businesses to thrive? When do we start preparing our nation for the next revolution in technology? At Purdue, the answer is now.
Well, there's our singular poll question. Which national championship game would you want to see? 44% opted for the Big Two, Oklahoma and Miami. The interesting second place, Oklahoma and USC, and USC impressive performance out in Seattle today. You know, we talk about this Michigan coaching staff. Lloyd Carr, he's got some veterans like Jim Herman, the defensive coordinator, Fred Jackson, the running backs coach. His offensive coordinator is Terry Malone. And that staff can feel, I think, awfully proud of the work that they did here today. Terry Malone with the glasses.
And Scott Loeffler and Terry Malone, the offensive coordinator, those two right there.
Gutierrez threw a nice ball on that, didn't he, ladies and gentlemen? Just put it right in Bell's hand. That's the Michigan future right there. So let me remind you that tomorrow Tiger Woods takes aim at his 6th W of the season. He's in a tight race for Player of the Year. So don't miss final round action in the Funai Classic at the Walt Disney World Resort tomorrow, 3 Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on ABC. Gary, I don't think you'll be playing golf here in Michigan tomorrow.
I think we're all done. I think we start playing gin starting Sunday.
That's it.
Michigan offensive line going up. Congratulations from Lloyd and this crowd. They did a good job controlling the line of scrimmage for John Navarre. John Navarre, very, very steady. 17 for 30 in the football game. Didn't throw an interception and did exactly what his coaching staff wanted to do. Took him deep into the game and didn't make any mistakes.
1st and 10 now. Final 3 minutes. Bracken carrying the ball. Perry left with 95 yards. I see over there. Let's go back to our performance track. Remember we talked about young Rustin and what he might do receiving and returning punts. And
this is first year,
they
right?
actually did a pretty good job
Austin
against him today.
Right.
To 68.
Only had one really bad punt trying to angle punt all the game. Remember the reverse call for the touchdown was a big play for Steve Breaston. But all in all, I think Purdue did about as good a job as you could do on him on the punt.
And these youngsters won't have too much time to enjoy this one because arch rival coming up next week up at East Lansing with Michigan State. They'll be ready. And diving attempt at the interception, and it's incomplete.
I'll tell you, talk about the plethora of defensive backs that Michigan has. You look at some of these receivers that aren't on the field. Jermaine Gonzalez, who's caught touchdown passes here. Carl Tabb, number 17, has been a receiver in this offense that they talk a lot. Tyrese Butler, who's caught passes here, just gotten almost replaced by better talent. These guys used to play when they played in Michigan, but these 3 guys right here, I think they're the class of the Big Ten, and they can play with any group of 3 receivers in the country.
The 3 Musketeers. Tiller paid them the ultimate compliment. He said that trio could start from Miami. And that's talking big-time wide receivers down there. Underwood now is the running back.
What did Joe say? A lot of tools in the toolbox, and I think those guys are the sharpest ones right there.
You know, I think I said to you, Gary, on the phone after we finished with Joe that, you know, I don't think that was Coach talking his praise of Michigan. He said this was as good a talent package as he'd seen since being in the Big Ten over there on the Michigan sideline. And when you go back to the start of this game, Gary, Michigan dominated it from the get-go. Made a couple of mistakes, but yet Purdue could not take advantage of them. They could have cut the score twice to 14-7, couldn't do it. And now Michigan rolling to an easy win and looking forward to next Saturday's game. But a very good point that Gary made about Purdue's season. There's still a lot to play for the Boilermakers. They can still get themselves a very, very good bowl assignment. And they've got the big game at Ohio State. And now we go back to just tack up another one on that list, Mr. Kyle.
Hey, don't there's some rule that the top guy drops off after a while when you add guys to the bottom?
There it is, folks. There's your group here.
Pretty soon you can't fit them on TV, and Mike will go next, and then I'll get to drop off, which would be nice.
The curse of the big house.
I'm glad they didn't show that, my interception here, but I wouldn't have been invited back to our reunion if they'd have showed it one more time.
Well, Gary, if you'd have just come in here and punted.
Exactly. Well, we had a very good team, and I've said to a lot of people, Brent, and I know how Kyle feels, I would rather have gone to the Rose Bowl than the Super Bowl. It was always my dream to take a Big Ten team to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, it's a dream of so many youngsters who play Big Ten football. It's just such a great trip. It was a pleasure to be out there for that game last year. Oklahoma got a chance to go, and there you are, your updated standings now. And John L. and the Spartans, the lone unbeaten team, and they've got a heavy assignment next week in East Lansing. They'll take on Michigan. Going to be interesting to see what the numbers, boys.
Well, remember,
who would you put out as a favorite in that game? Huh? That's interesting.
I think the two big things going. They playing at home and a senior quarterback.
Yeah, Smoker's been awfully good. And you're right, Gary. Playing at home is huge. And our Chevrolet players of this game, Sean Phillips played very well. Defensive end, number 15 there for Purdue. Gave an opportunity early on. They couldn't cash in. And folks, we're going to go with a freshman. We very seldom go with a freshman. We usually go with upperclassmen. But Leon Hall today, 2 interceptions, knocking one down to the end zone. A recognition of their efforts. Chevrolet makes a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. You really could have given it to any of 6 defensive backs,
Right.
but Hall made the two interceptions.
And remember the 3-man rush that just produced havoc all during this football game, too. I'm a little surprised Kyle Orton's in this football game. You know, Brandon Kirsch, the backup quarterback, actually started against Michigan last year, and I'm wondering why you didn't get Brandon a couple throws in this football game. Kyle has taken a beating.
You know, one of the things that John L. said on the phone that struck me, Gary, watching the Michigan defense, we see the 3 down linemen, basically a prevent now as they bring this game down without pressure. But he said an interesting thing was that how they camouflaged the different looks here today, because I was never too sure whether it was going to be 3 or 4, especially in that first half. Herman repeatedly changed up, and so Lloyd Carr's staff coming up with a nice performance here.
I think if you're going to run this type of offense against Michigan, you better have a really good guy at running back to give them one more weapon to stop. And I don't know if Purdue's running backs are really, really good enough. And Purdue's going to get called for an unnecessary penalty at the end of this game right here.
Yeah, you hate to see anything happen now. You know, it's a really tough game and a tough afternoon for the Boilermakers, but they'll live to fight another day, as they say, my friends. And we want to thank all the people and the 2 staffs who've helped us get ready for this game.
After the play was over, dead ball, personal foul for a late hit on the offense. 15-yard penalty, previous spot, second down.
I think this Purdue team is better than a year ago, but they have a tougher schedule than a year ago.
The Michigan SID, Dave Abloff, and Dave just goes out of his way with this staff to help us out. And the Purdue SID, Tom Schott. Couldn't ask for any better help. I know Gary went down to the
I
alma
want to thank
mater.
him.
Yeah, exactly. And executive producer of ABC Sports, Mike Pearl. The senior producer is Bob Toms. The coordinating producer of college football and the producer of today's game. Orton airs it out one more time, incomplete. The producer of the game today, Bob Goodrich, and the director, Larry Cam. Nice job down there, fellas. The TD, Monty Poling, associate producer Drew Kaliski, another outstanding job on the tees and all the packages. The associate director, Brian Fay, runs up all those clips and things that we use. Great job down there. Computer stats, Craig Rothberg and Jason Polstein. Craig keeps me up to date on what's going on in Florida football. Always looking forward to that update. Back in the studio in New York, Tim Weinkoff, the producer, directed by Calvin Haywood. TD, Bobby McQueen, and the director of production, Mark Loomis. And we had Brian Mobilson, the Wolverine himself, up here spotting away today, doing his outstanding job. George Hill on the stats as Purdue is out of bounds and an officer goes collapsing in that Michigan training staff, helping him up right down there. That's a tough guy. Jump back up. There he is, ready to go. As he'll get out to the middle of the field now with Lloyd Carr going out to shake hands with Joe Tiller. And it was a dominating performance by Michigan. Let's go to Jack Carew. Jack.
Well, Coach, congratulations. In terms of performances, how would you rank this one this season?
Well, I thought our defense was outstanding, and I can't give enough credit to our kids. You know, they've been to the mat and got back up, and they're fighting like you want a group of kids to fight.
And it's you control your own destiny now with a big game coming up against Michigan State next week.
Well, there's always one next week, isn't there, Jack?
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
That's the way it is. Always one next week. 31-3. Carr and Michigan win it. ABC Sports Online at ESPN.com. Search ABC Sports. Now, John Saunders, Terry Bowden, and Craig James in Times Square Stadium. Take it away, gentlemen.
Brent, thanks a lot. And as you watch that game, a couple of questions. First of all, where was that team against Oregon? I mean, all of a sudden that Michigan team losing to Oregon. The second question is, boy, does that set up a great game next week against Michigan State.
So I'll take question one. Well, I think we all talked about it where they had come off that big emotional win at home against Notre Dame, right? They'd blown them out. Then they had to go out west and play against an Oregon team they didn't know a whole lot about in a stadium that was very hostile. So that's what happened to them there in question one.
Oh, don't you remember it was the punts. They had punt block, Iowa and Oregon. They had their punts blocked. That cost them the game. I said it then, I'll say it now. This team has the talent to play for the national championship, but they blew it in the kicking game. But they're back in it. They're back in it.
They're not
Michigan
play for the
State.
national
No, they
championship.
won't. They've got 2 losses. But Michigan State, they're here with Michigan State undefeated. Ohio State, Michigan. Michigan State's the team to knock off.
There you go again.
I was going to say, though, Craig said at the start of the day, keep your eye on Michigan State as far as that one-loss team moving way up in the BCS standings, and it sets up next week, noon, right here on ABC, Michigan State against Michigan.
Well, that strength of schedule, quality wins, and that certainly gives Michigan State that opportunity. It's right in front of them. If they can get it done, it's there for them.
Ohio State, though. They've got Michigan at home, Michigan State at home. I mean, Michigan away, but they got Michigan State at home, and they've got a chance also to be back in this game, too. It's a great battle right now in the Big Ten.
They don't have enough offense. Ohio State doesn't have enough offense, though, to make a big
Indiana,
impact.
though, they came back against Indiana.
Right now, the most important thing for all those one-loss teams is for Oklahoma or Miami to lose. We'll continue with more after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
The Thrifty Car Rental Postgame Report. Great cars, great rates, and over 1,200 locations around the world. Thrifty Car Rental. From Times Square in New York, John Saunders, Terry Bowden, and Craig James.
Michigan with a huge answer for Purdue. 31-3 is the final, setting up that game at Michigan State next week. You can see that noon Eastern time right here on ABC. Now, other one-loss teams. Georgia is the one that many people feel have the chance to get into that championship game if there's a loss by one of the top two teams. Uga trying to stay cool. David Green trying to stay hot. 16 yards to Damian Gary. Georgia had a 7-0 lead, but for some reason, this one remains close. Late in the game, big sack here as Georgia pulls it out 16-13. Last week against Vanderbilt, they were sleepwalking. This week against UAB, sleepwalking. Next week, if they sleepwalk at the Swamp, they're done.
Well, they've got to have better play from David Green. David Green, their quarterback, he's always been their consistency. He's always been the guy that they can go to, but he's got 7 interceptions as well as 7 touchdown passes. They need better play out of him because he's been such an important part of that offense.
Ugly is what that was.
Yeah.
They're just an ugly win, but they did win. That was the number 2 quarterback at UAB. Hats off to them for a great performance today. But when you talk about Georgia, they'll be ready to play next week. This is a battle-tested team in the past. They'll gear it up. Cocktail party, they'll be ready.
Yeah, Florida still on, and Auburn also still on the schedule as well. Florida State, well, congratulations to Terry Bowden's father, Bobby Bowden, because he's about to become #1 all-time because Joe Paterno lost today with Penn State. Florida State is clobbering Wake Forest. He'll go pass them by 1 win.
Didn't I say earlier that Chris Ricks would lead them to a national championship? I thought. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, it's this defense at Florida State. They gave up 14 points in the first half, but they have been great in the second half all year. 17 points in the first 7 games, only 3 this half. They're going to ride this defense to their not national championship, maybe, but
maybe. Why not? I think they're going to jump above above Georgia this week in the BCS standings when it comes out. I think Florida State's going to hop up there pretty good, and they've got a quarterback now who has confidence, and they're having some success. I have no reason to believe that they don't have a shot at playing for the national championship.
Well, I hope you're true. You're right.
Chris Ricks played a lot smarter today than we have seen him throughout the entire season. Team who played for the national championship last year and won it, Ohio State. They have a loss now, that at Wisconsin. But again, there's a lot of hope for all those one-loss teams. Jim Tressel saying, Craig Krenzel, we are still in the hunt for back-to-back championships. Lydell Ross, they found their running game.
And you know what? Sometimes you need to have success. I don't care who it's against. Even though it was Indiana, this football team today had success offensively, and maybe that's contagious.
Well, Craig Krenzel is allowed to throw the ball. Give him a chance to throw it. He threw for over 270 yards. You got to mix it up. You can't run unless you throw. They gave him a chance. Craig Krenzel came through.
35-6 is the final. And again, as you said, even though it's Indiana, for Ohio State, they've been waiting for that offense to come alive. Krenzel, 19 of 26, 272 yards and a touchdown. He was picked off 1 time. USC, another one of those one-loss teams, facing Washington, and it's a loss Pete Carroll would like to have back against Cal. Matt Leinart with a good day, 60 yards to Reggie Bush. Look at the speed here.
Speed, man. That is speed, and that's against Washington, which you know they can run in their secondary.
Matt Leinart, 4 touchdowns today, 4 touchdowns last week. Remember how Carson Palmer got better each and every game? Matt Leinart has gotten better each and every game this year.
Carson Palmer did pretty well walking off with some hardwood at the end of the year. Called the Heisman Trophy in Oregon State, Washington State. That one just getting ready to get underway. And as we said again, Purdue and Michigan, this one done 31-3 is the final. Michigan gets the win. Let's take a look at now who we think are in the top 5. Not the BCS top 5, who we think our 5 best teams are. We'll start with Terry.
All right, I think they get them on the monitor. I can't see my top 5.
You can't remember? You picked them.
Well, we were supposed to put it on the monitor. All right, I got it. Oklahoma, there we go. Miami, USC, Florida State, Ohio State. The reason Georgia's not up there is because they haven't played well enough offensively. However, with their strength of schedule, I'm not saying they won't jump back up.
You know what? I think Oklahoma's there, Miami. I like USC at 3, Florida State 4. Georgia at 5. And that just proves that you changed your mind so often that you can't remember what you put out.
Just give me a monitor, will you?
And let me be the most controversial one as I put the Miami Hurricanes on top. And the reason I'm doing this is because Oklahoma has Oklahoma State next week, and I know that's on their minds. I know it's going to be a tough game. They've lost to them the last 2 consecutive years, so that's why right now Miami's on top. We'll continue with more of the Thrifty Car Rental postgame report in a moment. Welcome back to the Thrifty Car Rental postgame report in Times Square. John Saunders, Terry Bowden, and Craig James. Just correcting something I said earlier. I said the swamp. It'll be like a swamp when they play in Jacksonville, Georgia, and Florida. They took that 1 year off. And we welcome those of you who are watching Oklahoma State putting up another great game, 38 points on the board against Texas A&M. They had not won there in the last 20 years. And remember the points they scored last week against Texas Tech as they come up against Oklahoma now.
It's this offense. They're so versatile. Josh Fields throwing to Rashad Woods, and then Tatum, don't call me Tinker Bell. They got the whole group out there. They're scoring 42 points a game. This is a really good team that can score against anybody.
Dennis Franchioni's got a new group there, and they'll get it going in College Station. No doubt about it. Young quarterback in McNeil. They need to get the ball to Lewis Moore, let him run the football. But Texas A&M's defense, it's been gone for a while. I can't believe how open some of the receivers are that are running wild and free against Texas A&M. Uncalled for.
You guys have been climbing out on limbs all day long. We still have more to go. Here's the largest limb. Can Oklahoma State make it 3 years in a row over Oklahoma?
You know, I don't think so. I think Oklahoma State's gotten better. I think those were upsets. But you know what? Oklahoma this year, Jason White makes them a different animal. This is a high explosive, high octane offense. It's not just a defense. Too many points they're going to score.
Josh Fields is quarterbacking a very explosive offense right now, and Oklahoma State has proven they can throw the football against Oklahoma. They're not afraid. They're not intimidated by Oklahoma. That helmet, the helmet game doesn't matter.
So they're going to win? So Oklahoma State's going to win?
I'm not saying that, my friend.
There's that limb out there. Jump up on that thing.
I just tried to get on a good solid branch.
You guys get on the limb, but you're crawling back towards the trunk every time it comes time to make a pick. We'll get back to New York and continue with more in a moment.
The trunk.
The Thrifty Car Rental postgame report. Great cars, great rates, and over 1,200 locations around the world. Thrifty Car Rental.
Biggest game in the Mid-American Conference in just about 20 years, and it looks like Bowling Green's going to knock off Northern Illinois.
Yeah, that number 10 next to Northern Illinois should never have been there. We'll get rid of that problem.
Yeah, Bowling Green was a better team anyway. Beat Purdue, almost beat Ohio State. It was Bowling Green anyway.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week.
He's done it! Unbelievable! Double Stanley Cup champions! A new world champion. Are you kidding me? Best final round ever. They're out of their season.
That is picture perfect.
Inside the 20, goes all the way for a touchdown. The only undefeated team.
The tradition continues. Sports' biggest events right here. This is ABC Sports Championship Television.